Hello everyone, we should be live right now. I'm gonna mute the stream. What's up, T-Dreads?
Hello.
What's up, chat? Who's here? Who we got? We got Theory Chum, we got Cryptic Luca, who had some based opinions over the last couple days in everyone else's live streams. Fritz, Rolo, got a lot of people here, 62 people, and yet only 30 likes? What are you guys doing?
You guys hate us, don't you? Sorry, I'm eating cheese. Let me put my cheese aside.
Hello,
Right.
Danny. Hello, Memphoris. So what this video is going to be is that me and T-Dreads were talking last night. He had a very long stream in which he talked about his new theory, God David, to which I was roasting him in the chat. And we decided that we did not.
Unsuccessfully.
We decided we did not want me to derail his stream by coming in and arguing about it. And then later we realized that 3 months ago I uploaded a video on my channel called "We Solve FNAF 4: The Crying Child is the Mimic Joke Theory," and now it's canon.
Good one.
Now it's canon.
Joke there, guys.
So we're gonna watch my old video and see how accurate it is to what T-Dreads now unironically believes, and then we're gonna talk about it. Someone is asking what kind of cheese you're eating.
Don't be mad at me. I'm just eating straight like cold cuts, like American. White American
Oh
cheese.
my god. How is TD's volume compared to mine? And then when I start the video, I'm gonna play it for maybe 10 seconds. I want you guys to tell me if the volume's good. Animating from the dead because it's there's some breaking theory nonsense. So this video is not scripted, very poorly edited, and I'm just getting it out there right now because I'm happy. All right, so how's TD versus me, and how's us versus the video?
How's the sneeze? Ready?
Yep.
Oh, never mind. It was clickbait. It was a
Oh,
oh, double clickbait.
there we go. Cheese theory. Someone says, "How dare you? Volume is fine. Good volume. Video is super low. TD is a little low." Oh, that's right. Whenever we're in a group call, I turn you down because you're loud. You're loud.
David is the mimic. David's inside of Crying Child.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to skip through the introduction. I'm just yapping. Okay, so let's go. I will pause if you ask me to pause. What he thinks the numbers mean. So a few hours ago, John FNAF put out a video talking about what he thinks the numbers mean in the ending of Help Wanted 2, and he thinks that it's Edwin's address. It's a great video, I will link it in the description, but one of the things that he theorizes is that we're going to be playing as young Henry in Secret of the Mimic. If you go... Wrong.
Yeah, no, we didn't.
Go to his comment section, you'll see a comment from Earl the Rural Squirrel, who says that they think that MXES stands for Mimic Extraction and Entrapment System.
I said that.
If MXES was created by Henry, which is unironically a better name than the actual name for MXES, which I can't even remember. What, Mechanical X-Form, something?
Yeah, encapsulation or some shit. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, how are we supposed to get that X was X-Form? Like, what's that even mean?
That's not even a real word.
No, and we still don't know what it means. It's not like if Mimic 2 was called Mimic X, then, like, I'd get it.
I think mechanical X form is probably the mechanical form of, like, a person. So I think the mechanical X form, I'm assuming, is referring to the Mimic, because the cradle's to keep it safe. So it's a mechanical X form something system or whatever. So I would assume the mechanical X form that is being... I forget what the E is. Chat, what was the E again in the actual MXES acronym?
MXES was a cop-out. It was the most random thing.
Yeah. What was the E standing for in the actual MXES? Someone have it soon.
X-Form sounds like anime.
Yep. Come on, chat. 10 seconds delay. Tell us what it is. What does the E stand for? I forgot already. How does nobody know?
Because it's so...
Experiment. It stands for experimental storage. Experimental storage. That's right.
Mechanical
okay.
X-Form
So yes. Okay. I would assume the mechanical X form is the Mimic. Obviously, because that's what's probably being stored. So I would assuming it is because you also, at least we can agree that the Mimic is literally possessed, right?
Yes, so this is very contentious in the community as well as in the theorist space.
It is.
Half of the people in the FNAF theorist Discord think that there's no possession going on and it's only AI, and then half of us believe that they're possessed either by agony or literal spirits. Me and you, I think, are both actual possession believers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I think the mimic AI is what allows for the possession to be so good. To be.
Yes.
I actually think it's a greater possibility because it's got a human brain. And we see later that William Afton will try to map spirits onto animatronics that are deliberately designed to have more human systems.
Yeah, I think
Also, Autobiography of a Yogi. Yeah, I think it makes it more likely they're possessed.
I think the more advanced the AI, the more likely it is for the spirit to latch onto it, but also the less control the spirit has, if that makes sense.
Like, maybe if the AI has a personality, right? If you just have a mimic AI and you don't give it any sensory input, maybe you could bind a consciousness to it easily. Like Chica and Susie, that was probably a difficult soul binding because Chica, the character, had a pre-programmed personality that likely conflicted with Susie, the girl.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, but it's like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example where it's like your robot, or it's like the movie Avatar, right? It's like the body that you're putting your consciousness into is a match to your actual consciousness, so it's a good match. This would not work if it wasn't like intentionally designed for you. I think that
Anyway.
the reason that like any of it worked is because Edwin was using Fiona's voice throughout the building and in his inventions before they even like got married. So he sort of had an imprint of Fiona within his system before he even built the mimic and before she died. So like, even though the mimic is just a mimic, it's not Fiona, so how could she have possessed it? Even though she like died somewhere else.
Did you ever catch that mimic is also an acronym in this universe?
Did they say that?
Yes, they did. It's if you go, so before you get to MXES, it says it's something like MIMIC with periods in between. Mimic in the games universe is also an acronym for something.
But we don't learn what it is.
We do not yet, no.
Okay.
I would assume it's something imitation mechanism, something one thing one.
Another.
But yeah, it's also an acronym.
Great.
That's in the parachute ending.
New mystery. Some in the chat just said, "What?" I agree. What?
No, yeah, it is. If you go back to the parachute ending, everyone was so caught up in the chase. But if you go back to the parachute ending, where you actually launch MXES, there's a second option you don't get to click that says MIMIC something. I forget what it says after, but it is an acronym for Mimic.
All right, let's continue. So the first couple minutes of this video is nonsense, and then
Murray
it gets into...
imitation mechanism.
Yo.
Woo. Okay.
Is John FNAF's theory. Then it's possible that its naming scheme follows the same as Lefty. Lure, encapsulate, fuse, transport, extract. And so it would be Mimic, Extract, and Entrapment System. Although it could also be Mimic, Extract, and Encapsulate System. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that it would mean that MXES is built by Henry. That the...
My name is...
Bruh.
Bro gave himself 5 cents. Bro gave himself 5 cents. Skull emoji.
1/4 of
Maryland Global Campus.
I have this on an account that's not signed in on a different browser. That's why I have ads. Similar to Lefty, and then from there you can kind of guess some of the plot of the game. In a group chat just now, I was talking to the Unwithered Truth, and we made some silly jokes that turned into the worst FNAF theory of all time. The worst FNAF theory of all time. The worst FNAF theory of all time, T-Dreads. Just remember that. What we're about to talk about is
too bad it's true.
Oh my god. Fourth by not real name, not at all, is that the Mimic and the Puppet mirror each other in certain ways. I have YouTube Premium chat, I'm just not logged in. The Mimic, just that there's some similarities between the Puppet and Jackie and the Mimic and other things. And so I made the joke, saying that if the Puppet is the Mimic, then it gives a lot of new context to the series. A few days ago, I did several podcasts and live streams with Unwithered Truth, as well as T-Dreads, and we talked about the theory that originally the crying child from FNAF 4 was supposed to be the Puppet. And so we talked a lot about the differences and similarities between the Puppet and the crying child. One of the things that we also discussed was a theory called God Victim, and I swear this is all coming together to build to one thing. God Victim was originally a joke theory put forward by Unwithered Truth and T-Dreads about how all of the elements of FNAF 4's minigames that originally led MatPat to think of Dream Theory actually indicate something called God Theory. God Theory is that the crying child's death led him to influence things from the afterlife, so that the things he saw in life became real. He's told a
Wait, are you actually
schoolyard
about to say that?
rumor that the animatronics
Say
will
what?
hide
Video?
your body if you...
Are you about to say that the crying child is making the present reality mimic things he's seen in the past, or no?
Yes,
Because that is what it is.
Let's see.
Oh
The
my
restaurant?
god, this is so
Well, now that's what the animatronics do.
This is so
He saw a
ass.
fat boy holding a balloon. That inspired someone to make Balloon Boy. He saw a
Yeah, so I genuinely
Fingertrap
believe this
Spring
now.
Bonnie toy. That inspired Springtrap. He saw the toy animatronics, Chica with a broken beak, Mangle in pieces in his sister's room. That inspired Mangle to be a take-apart, put-back-together attraction, and for Toy Chica the animatronic to take her beak off. Basically, all of Fazbear Entertainment became cursed because of the crying child's death. It was a curse of Fredbear.
Haha.
This is similar to an older
Oh
theory
my
called
God.
Memory Victim, and when I first
A
heard
curse
this,
of
I thought it was very
David
good. It's very similar to
Victim.
my own arcade theory, but I think it actually explains the story a little better. I've been holding off making a video about it because
And
I
still
wanted to
am.
get my own
About it,
thoughts
yeah.
on paper about how exactly I would word the theory. I would call it something other than God Victim, and I would want a more
I think that God
understandable
Victim gives
explanation.
it. I think that God David gives an explanation for God, like, because everyone was like,
Yes.
"Well, how come this kid is the super one?" Well, that's because it's the mimic interacting with the 0-point field.
Yes, because, you
Yeah.
know, why is Golden Freddy so special? Why does David have all this power and no one else does?
all these powers and no one else does, because the classics didn't have the mimic AI in them, presumably.
Yep. So it allows the mimic being a
Yes.
very, like,
Yeah.
the most advanced piece of technology, and therefore can do this stuff.
Mhm.
As to how it happened. This is a very common trope in media, but I wanted one single good example of this exact thing
Nice haircut,
happening
loser.
from a movie or a book or something before I talked about it in a real scripted video. I also wanted to answer the question of whether or not this might put the blame on killing people on the crying child as opposed to William, because if he's making everything happen, then that's kind of a bad
They would
thing.
put it on the
Unwithered
mimic
Truth's
now, I
explanation
think.
would be that Charlie died before the crying
Put it on Edwin,
child,
'cause he
and
beat the shit
thus
out of him.
it doesn't matter because William was always a murderer, and so he's not responsible. That's just a half-baked theory. I haven't decided how I feel about it yet, but it's
This
something
guy
that's
is
been
using
discussed.
fire particle,
God
dust
Victim,
particle, green
the crying
screens for
child
attention
originally being the
maxing. You
puppet,
can't fool
the puppet
me.
being the mimic.
What?
I see through your simple shell game, Gibby.
About what?
You used green screen dust particles.
Oh yeah, no, there's green screen dust particles over my background, and there has been since I made it.
Okay, never mind. I never noticed.
And now we come to this new idea, that it's possible that Henry built MXES. If Henry built MXES, and Henry built the puppet, and Henry built Lefty, is it possible that every animatronic that Henry has built has the Mimic 1 program in it?
Thank God it does
Is
not.
it possible that the puppet is actually part Mimic? It has the Mimic's artificial intelligence inside of it. It's
At
not
least
the
you were
full
wrong
Mimic.
about this.
Yeah. Oops, all mimic. I'm so glad that that's dead.
Dude, we were cutting it close.
I think we might be in an oops all agony or an oops all like David God position, but at least oops all mimic is not true.
I think we might be going to oops quite a lot of mimic.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think due process theory could be right. I think the toys might be confirmed to have it.
I think that the fact that almost every like character and animatronic we see was worked on in Edwin's factory, right? Like Chica, they might have the agony of David and Fiona and Edwin's lives like in them already. Like before FNAF 4 even starts, Freddy's is haunted
don't say that.
because Fiona and David died while they were making like the Springlock suits, etc.
Don't say pieces of David or shatter.
No, Shatter is
Don't
cringe.
say that.
No
Don't say
Shatter.
that.
Same way that you can use artificial intelligence and you can branch it off into different consciousnesses,
God.
but it does have the Mimic programming. This gives an entirely new
Bro really said joke
dimension
theory, skull
to God
emoji.
Victim theory. The crying child isn't imposing his will and the things that he heard from the afterlife onto all
How
of
do you
the
guys listen to me
animatronics.
at one time
The
speed?
Mimic
I can't even do
saw
that.
these things happen and is mimicking them. The Mimic saw
True.
tiny toy Chica
Correct.
missing her beak, and so the real toy Chica, years later,
Yep.
takes
Through the
off
0-point
her
field
beak.
interacting
The
with AI.
Mimic saw
Just
the
literally what
broken
it
Mangle
does.
toy in the sister's room,
Pause it
and
for a
so
sec.
years later,
Fetch specifically talks. I forget the exact word for it, but Fetch specifically talks about a specific type of computer, which is what is it?
REGs, random event generators.
REGs. Yeah. So it specifically talks about like, you know, binary code and code interacting with the real world and how you do this in the real world and the computer can sense it and everything can sense things. I genuinely believe that, yeah, it is an interaction between the mimic AI and the 0 point field, that the kid inside of it is remembering this stuff. And so the mimic possession, whatever the fuck is happening, is literally forcing the present reality to mimic the past. Yes. And even if you think about it, under the really weird idea that Ultimate Custom Night is Vengeful David, which people have been saying lately, which is, you know,
yeah, people,
not gonna
not
get into
you.
that's true.
Yeah, people, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not as convinced as that. I think it's a bigger possibility than before. I think BV Vengeful Bite Victim is a bigger possibility than before now. I'm tied between that and Cassidy. I haven't decided yet. But Ultimate Custom Night, there's nothing new. It's just a bunch of old set pieces from the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise stuffed into one amalgamation, similar to Pizza Party from Five Nights at Freddy's VR Help Wanted, which we know the Glitch Trap Mimic AI probably just crammed a bunch of random shit it saw into one place, which is exactly what Ultimate Custom Night is. So under that logic, it could be that Ultimate Custom Night is just one giant mimicry of everything William Afton has ever done. And that would also be why the Vengeful Spirit's voice is underlaid under the mediocre melodies with their voice boxes also talking, because that exact way of speaking is how David talks to the mimic in this game.
Yes.
That is just correct. Those are just observations that are correct. So that is why I think it is more evidence than last time. Before I would have laughed at you if you said Vengeful Bite Victim. But
well, yeah, Bite Victim also talks underneath, I think it's Nightmare Fredbear. Like, when Nightmare Fredbear talks, you can hear CC underneath it saying, "We know who our friends are, you are not one of them." And then CC's in the background going, "We know who our friends are." So that's very similar to Vengeful Spirit, which is unfortunate because I don't want that to be a thing.
Yeah.
I'll talk about what I think UCN is later.
I don't like how chat says I'm losing them and then proceeds not to say how so. Like, what did I say that was wrong?
Sees in FNAF 4
what did I just bring up that was
then
incorrect?
Later mimicked, not because of God Victim, but because
Anyway.
he is the mimic. You could even, and this is so stupid, but you could even
This is so
say
stupid.
that the Crying Child's friends being his plush toys, the ones in his bedroom, that's why he befriends the classic animatronics, because they're already his friends. Now, I didn't get to the stupidest part yet. Hearing this, you might be like, okay, that's just God Victim with extra steps. What does the mimic have to do with anything? What's the key piece of evidence that makes this anything besides just yapping at midnight? What's the Crying Child's name again?
This might be the most influential, stupid conversation that I've had with anyone.
What if Dave is actually the mimic? You mean Dave Murray or Dave Afton?
This is stupid, but wait, what if Dave is actually the mimic? Hold on, is Scott the best writer on Earth? And then Unwithered says Dave Murray or Dave Afton. He didn't know which one I meant, and I said Dave Crying Child Afton is the mimic.
UCN is Afton's hell, nothing more. That does not refute what I just... The observations I made are still, like, objectively, that is what is happening in the game.
Yes, I do personally believe that, but theoretically, the 0 point field could interact with Heaven, which is what I think FNAF World is, and therefore could also be
so it's
UCN.
not... Yeah.
What did the community discover the Crying Child's name to be? Is it Dave? Is the Crying Child's name Dave?
This was just the 0 point field telling me and Unwithered the lore.
The one who the mimic was friends with, the one who the mimic first mimicked, not named David. Is it possible that the Crying Child isn't the puppet or Golden Freddy? The Crying Child, like John FNAF said so many years ago,
is he like 10?
A robot.
Because that's when he made the video.
Okay, I don't think he's a robot. I don't think he's a robot.
There is no third after.
You don't currently think that he is a robot?
No, I never thought that.
So, okay, we can go into what you genuinely believe after this, because I do have questions about that. That's one of the questions I don't think you satisfactorily answered yesterday.
in Lonely Freddy, right?
Yes.
In Lonely Freddy, when the Lonely listen, when the Lonely Freddy's digitally swap consciousness with Alec, is Alec ever a robot? No, he's a real human.
Correct. But I mean, he becomes a Lonely. The
no,
Freddy is
a robot
the
consciousness.
The
Yeah, I'm
AI
saying,
is
but-
inside of his flesh body.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, but Alec is an organic human that the AI goes into.
Yes.
And I don't see why. Because think about how much on our streams of the last year I've been complaining that Scott keeps reusing this plot device of Guy does this thing and then an AI takes over his organic body. He spams the fuck out of that storyline, and that's because he was actually planning to use it, and now he has. Okay, continue.
Child. It's just the mimic. Dave, the crying child from FNAF 4, is David Murray.
You thought I was saying
but he
CC-bot
thinks
yesterday?
he's an actor.
No, I don't
He's
think
a
you
robot.
were saying CC bot yesterday. In fact, I think that you didn't. My question was, why don't you think CC bot? Which again, we can talk about in 2 minutes.
Oh, do
Bot
you
boy.
think CC-bot?
When William said,
Maybe.
"You're broken, I will put you
Oh,
back together,"
God.
he's literally broken because he is a robot. He is the mimic.
Oh my god!
Hashtag ad.
What kind of
hashtag ad.
loser? What's up, Candy? What kind of loser puts
Hold
two
on.
ad
I gotta
breaks?
switch to my actual Discord. BRB.
2 ad breaks in a short video, in a 9-minute video? What a loser. Whoever did this just wants money. Isn't doing it for the love of the game, just doing it for cash. This good idea, bad idea guy, cringe.
Steam
On it.
All
My
the
name's the
nonsense,
vengeful
all the
spirit.
not real
Oh,
name, not at
yeah.
all theories about the puppet and the mimic, all the John FNAF theories about Crying Child being a robot, Hyperdroid's
again.
theory about his name
up?
being
I'm
Dave.
mimicking it.
It's all
I'm
coming
mimicking
together
it.
in the greatest theory of all time. The Crying Child literally is the mimic. The mimic program is in every single robot, and God Victim is true. It's just not using ghost magic, it's using the Mimic 1 program. This also explains arcade theory. If the Mimic 1 program is somehow in the circuit
Truth.
boards in the arcade
Yep.
machines, they can recreate or
Mimic.
mimic the events that happened in reality. They can depict
Exactly.
things that actually happened because they're just mimicking them. We
I
know that
cannot
there are
believe this is
spirits in the
actually,
games.
like,
the thing
a
that's
feasible
animating all the
possibility.
animatronics is the spirits of the children. But the thing that's governing their AI is the mimic program.
Like, you can disagree, but
And
I'm
it's
not
governing it
actually on
using
meth.
what it
Like,
saw
I never thought
when
of this
it
before,
was
and I
Dave
hate that I
Acton,
thought of it now.
Who is actually David Murray. I rest my case, and I should never be allowed to make a video at midnight again.
I drew that
know I'm
image
gonna
for
regret not
this
sleeping on
video.
this tomorrow, but this is the greatest theory of all time, and that's why I need everyone's thoughts in the comment section below. How does this work? How does this not work? This has been Rough Draft with GiBi. Thank you for watching. Be sure to be nice to each other in the comments.
on.
Except
Great
to me.
job,
You can-
Gibson.
Critters FNAF was right all along. I can't,
I can't believe you
it.
predicted Secret Mimic.
While editing this, me and Unwithered came up with even better ideas. What if Mike is also the mimic? What if
Hold
that's
on.
why everyone says that he just does what William tells him to do? What if that's why the sister location animatronics thinks he looks like William? What if that's an in-universe canon reason that William and Mike share a voice actor?
Bum, bum,
And
bum.
Unwithered's final prediction. What
Holy
if at the end of
cringe.
Secret of the Mimic crawls into a robot baby boy and turns on an illusion disc?
Oh my god!
Interesting. Interesting.
That wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen. Don't be stupid.
Huh. What a crazy thing that Scott Cawthon would never do.
Gibby,
Remember
leaking
that
games is fucked up.
Okay, that's it.
Leaking games is... You shouldn't be a leaker, dude. You ruin the fun for people. Like, I know you found out that shit from Scott, but just keep it to yourself, man. Come on.
Alright, this is just gonna be in the background now. So thoughts?
A lot of that is actually what I think happens.
I'm aware.
Alright, now, tell me how I'm wrong.
Alright, have y'all seen Room for One More FNAF Theories vid from Leon?
I've seen the Midnight Motorist one.
I have not.
I've seen the Midnight Motorist one.
I don't know
Where they
what
use
that is.
14 theory in based ways.
14 Theory?
Yeah, no, they took 14 theory and just made it better than Raven.
What?
Dang.
Wait, maybe we can watch
Yeah.
their video. Who is this?
Room for One More, you just have to look it up, Room for One More FNAF podcast.
Okay.
It's not actually a podcast. They name their channel FNAF Podcast, even though they're fully edited videos.
Okay. I don't want to, like, react to them and steal all their views, but hold on.
My name's the motherfucking mimic, yeah. Oh, I got entered inside of me. Have you heard my mimic song, Candy Bunny?
No. I have been off
That's
the
cursed.
FNAF scene for like 2 months straight. No videos.
That's right,
whatsoever.
and I was made by Edwin for somebody to play with.
This
David.
40-minute one
Yeah.
long. I don't know if we can watch that.
Room for one more Midnight Motorist. Yep.
Huh? What's like the gist of it? Or no, you just said you didn't see it.
I saw it.
Okay, what's the gist?
Do I remember?
Oh my gosh.
I think they do say. I think they do say vengeful bite victim at the end. I think they do.
Crazy.
Yeah, they do. They do.
What if GiBi is Scott Cawthon? No, I just told you. Scott Cawthon communicates to us through our dreams via the 0-point field.
Dream
Anyways,
theory.
let's fight. Let's you
Okay,
and me
let's fight. Candy's judge.
Yay!
I'll pay you. All right, go.
Okay, for the chat, lay out God David.
And for the candy.
All right, let me go to my PowerPoint presentation.
Oh my god, your cringe PowerPoint. I asked you, I'm like, can you summarize God David before your stream? And you're like, bro, it's like 40 slides.
It is. It
Wait, you
is
made it
30
a PowerPoint?
slides.
He made a PowerPoint.
Good heavens. Oh, that's my teams.
I had to present it somehow. No one was gonna watch if I didn't have any visuals. Anyway, so there's a secret image in Secret of the Mimic with David sitting on the same hill as the security breach ending. We later data mined the game, went free roam and free cam, and found out that the hill they are sitting on is outside of the house that burns down and that Afton later rebuilds. So both Gregory and David Murray sit under a tree outside the FNAF 4 property. Now, I'm going to refer to it as they live on the literal same property from now on, because they do. I know you were getting annoyed when I said literal same house, because it's, it burned down. So I'll say literal same property, because it is the same property.
Yes, so there's an email.
The game tells you that.
There's an email in which William basically says, I own this land.
Yes.
So we can basically assume some version of Fazburger is just objectively canon.
Yes.
Which is that almost all the properties are in the same location.
Mm-hmm. So David in this image is holding a plush and is sitting next to an animatronic. If you brighten the image, he's wearing a shirt. Obviously, the art is so like dimly lit, you can't tell what color the shirt is, but it is a dark shirt with 2 stripes at the bottom. Just like how the Crying Child and Gregory have a dark shirt with 2 stripes. Now, obviously this is intentional. People were dunking on MatPat a while ago. I think repeating it once could be an homage to the character. I think repeating it twice is them shoving it in your face. It's
Yeah, you can very clearly see that there are 2 stripes on his shirt, like the exact same as Crying Child and Gregory.
Near the bottom. So God David is the idea that Fiona and Afton at some point try to get David Murray's consciousness into the Crying Child and then later Gregory.
If one of you can send this image but rotated in Discord, I can open it that way.
Yeah, and so the primer knowledge was that Sun represented Fiona and Moon represented Edwin.
Wait,
so
where
we know
is
the
that
Crying
image originally in
Child.
the Discord?
I scrolled up to 3 days ago. Monocato posted it like 3 days ago, yeah.
So we are pretty confident that the Crying Child has dark hair, a shirt with 2 stripes at the bottom, loves a stuffed animal and takes it everywhere, has a neglectful father who is always working, is named David, has the literal same property, is given the literal same toys, that if the parachute ending is true, Afton would have found those toys in a fucking ash heap, and he still gave them to his kid. They are both eventually presented as a mascot suit that laughs and teleports and causes hallucinations. They both appear to be afraid of the robots in some way, or metal endoskeletons. David likes the characters, but he's specifically afraid of the mimic endoskeleton. And I believe the Crying Child gets afraid when he's walking in the direction of the actual robots on stage, not the guys in the suits. And also he doesn't show any fear. I get this is weird because it's a minigame. I don't think the thing he saw is when Afton puts the head on that guy in the back room, because he doesn't seem, any more afraid. The game doesn't put any punch on that moment. Both the Crying Child and David have no real friends. Both have a close relationship to the Core 4 animatronics. That's the thing that ends up comforting David, is hearing a story about the characters, not the animatronics, but the characters. The bunny, the rabbit, all this stuff. He has a close relationship to them. Both end up being scared by a version of Foxy in some way. The actual file name, I know he's waving Roxy around, but the name of the tape in the files is like Birthday Foxy tape or something like that. I'll have to ask Mamakato. They both die in an accident on their birthday. They both have no mother at home and are taken care of by a babysitter who frightens them. In the lead up to Security Breach Ruin and Secret of the Mimic, they did a Guess the Sketch of Crying Child. I don't think they did any other characters from that game from FNAF 4, which made me think that they were like, they were leading up to this being important again, especially because if you watch Underscore's video, some of the other Guess the Sketches they did were relevant to the plot of what Secret of the Mimic would actually become. Then I looked back at FNAF 4, found basically fucking nothing except for the fact that the crying child's room is also barred from the other side. The survival logbook has a lot of interesting things. There's the question, was your favorite toy a plastic purple phone, which we know that David and the crying child both had at some point. There is a Jack in the Box when he's asked if any of the toys are familiar. They ask, do you have dreams? And in Moon.exe, the David... So do we agree that we play as like some weird David mimic thing in Moon.exe?
I don't know. And I feel like I have to look through all of Moon.exe again. Because
well, anyway,
the owl is very clearly David.
Yes. So the thing in David's room is scared to go to sleep ever again. And the nightmares from FNAF 4 take place in a version of David's room. Not, whatever, not the literal same room if you want, but you are supposed to look at both rooms and go, your first reaction is supposed to be, oh my goodness, look, the same room. There is the question, was your favorite ride the carousel, which never fit for the crying child because he never went on one. But there is a carousel right in Marie's costume manor where David definitely could have gone on it and seen one. There is a question from the Fata text asking, do you miss them? And under it, Foxy is writing a note on his desk, crying. In Moon.exe, on the desk in the bedroom, there's a written note that says, Dear Moon, can you please bring back the sun? There is the question from Fata text, do you remember your name? Gregory also has trouble recalling his name in the beginning of Security Breach. He goes, I'm Gregory, And MatPat thought that's because he was deliberately lying. I think it's because he was brainwashed for a while and forgot who Gregory actually was.
Okay, so
and this is the same reason that he can't remember his name.
One of my criticisms of the stream yesterday is that a lot of these things are either like surface level comparisons or parallels or etc. And I think that the only thing we really need to establish the connection between the three characters is the identical shirt, the name David and David, the dying on their birthdays in an accident, and then like the hill ending. Like I think that firmly establishes
I don't
the
agree.
connection.
I don't agree. I think all this stuff in the logbook is important.
I don't know about that.
So yeah, that's just us disagreeing on what the important details are.
Even if we let's just like go forward assuming that okay, these are parallels, Scott's trying to say something with this. My question is, what is the relationship between what is this triangle of Dave, David, and Gregory? What is the point of showing us this and also this? What are they looking at? Is it on the other side of the same tree? Why is one on the right side and one's on the left side? If you look at all the different endings of Security Breach,
I think thematically, now that Gregory's been set free, they are looking at the other. So if the image is flipped, if you look at it, the image is flipped.
Yes.
So presumably they are sitting on the other side of the tree, looking away from the trouble, looking away from the Pizzaplex in the factory, looking forward. That's why this is the image you get in the good ending, I think. Where Burn Trap gets fucked or whatever. This is so that's why I would say
the one with Vanessa and Freddy's head is the.
No, I'm thinking about the one with Gregory and they're also not looking at the factory in that ending, are they?
No, those are positioned the same.
Yeah,
they're looking the same. There's the same mountain in the background.
I would say it's thematic, and they are looking away from the factory and the Pizzaplex and all the bad down there. They're looking the other direction. They're ready to move forward.
So you think that behind this image, if they were to turn around,
yes, I would say
the factory there. Murray's factory that we see in the other one would be the Pizzaplex.
Yes.
So I wasn't in the original stream. Is this all leading up to you saying that David, and Gregory are the same person, or that
no,
David and Gregory are the same person, but David is a different person, or any?
They are all different. They are all different biological organisms.
Okay.
But by some means, they are trying to digitally transfer David Murray's consciousness into them, which don't say that's insane because that plot line does happen in the books at least 10 times.
So we keep uploading somebody's conscious into a new bioorganism, is that what you're saying?
Into a new bioorganism that is a young boy, yes.
So I think that that's very clearly the case with Gregory. Even going back 5 years when Security Breach came out, everyone thought that they were trying to upload the crying child, and Vanessa was supposed to be Elizabeth, they're rebuilding the Afton family. Like, everyone agreed on that. But sort of the new context is now it's not Dave Afton that Gregory's mimicking, it's David Murray.
It's David Murray. But
So
then
So we're trying to rebuild the Murray family instead?
Yeah. And I get you're like, well, those aren't. I get where you're coming from when you get upset when not upset. You know, when you don't feel compelled when I say this. But I think the fact that Gregory and David Murray are both designed after, or both look like exactly the same as the crying child who came before them, I think they're obviously trying to tell you, hey, if you know this kid is this kid, we also have this kid who lives exactly the same and has a bunch of other similar. Like, what else are they trying to tell you is going on with crying child, if not this? That's what I want to know from you.
Well,
What do you? Why do you think that Dave has all these things?
My sort of question for you would be, do you think that Scott is trying to answer FNAF 4 with these, or is Scott jumping in to say David Murray is actually the linchpin, the fulcrum of the entire series, and Crying Child was just sort of like, even though he came in the real world first, David Murray's the actual origin of everything?
I think he is Scott conning the story to say that the secret of the mimic is that David Murray is the driving force of the whole plot. David Murray is the most important. Yeah, I think he is Scott conning the story to say that.
Okay, so...
I don't like it, but that is where I'm inclined to lean right now.
So my thing would be that, again, I agree 100% that whatever the overarching force within the Pizzaplex is that is very clearly in control of every piece of technology is trying to do another David, is trying to make Gregory into David. My question for that theory is, what is the mechanism or motivation for that to also be true with Cece?
The mechanism, the best one I can come up with now is FNAF World, which for the reasons I told you. That it has the same naming convention. There's a pinwheel circus, the boss of which is an owl with 2 different colored eyes. There are characters from Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of Mimic in there. You know, you got the crocodile, you got Bubba or Bob or whatever his name was. Also, when in that and then to beat FNAF World, you enter glitches like Balloon World, and then at the end of the game, eyes or a face comes up to the screen and tells you to rest, and the text generates from top to bottom. And then after you enter the glitches in Balloon World, eyes and a face come up to the screen, and text generates from top to bottom saying good night. And there's literally, when you load into Balloon World, the first thing you see is a circus tent with a pinwheel design.
Okay.
So to me, yeah, it's just...
So, wait, the mechanism is that he uploads his consciousness through FNAF
Through games, yes. Through games, yep.
Okay.
So that's how... So it's not literally David in... Sorry, David's not in Princess Quest, but that is how the AI is getting into people. So Vanessa originally got possessed through either Help Wanted, which is a fucking video game, or something to do with Princess Quest, which is a video game. And David gets possessed... Gregory gets possessed through Balloon World. And if it's also David going into the Crying Child, it would make sense that that game is FNAF World, is like a similar naming convention with similar set design and circus theming.
So I love, and again, this is kind of what I was saying yesterday, is like, oh my god, you're so right. An owl with heterochromia was in a tent.
Yep.
And now we have heterochromia
associated,
so blue-green associated with the tiger plush, and an owl, a baby owl associated with David in Moon.exe. And then Sun and Moon are the bad guys in Balloon World, and the owl's the boss of the thing. Incredible observations. My question would be, who do you think that recontextualizes FNAF World to the point where it now takes place while Cece was alive and is about David?
Say that again?
How could FNAF World be how Crying Child got brainwashed if it seemingly is setting up his happiest day? Like, does that mean that we were wrong about FNAF World the entire time?
Yeah, well, I don't think he ever actually. It's the same annoying shit with a sister location where it doesn't actually retcon anything. We just didn't know the full details. I think Scott's doing that again. I think he is retroactively taking the story and jerking it away from what it originally was, which is exactly what he did with sister location.
So when do you think FNAF World takes place? Like, because it has to be when CC is alive.
The year, I have no fucking clue. I have no clue. I don't know if it does have to be when he's alive. I don't know if he literally is. Um, Here's what I mean. He never gets named in Five Nights at Freddy's 4. It's really tricky because it could be that when his brain gets like crushed, the kid CC, that's the perfect opportunity for David to take over and to let the other consciousness die. Like I don't know. You just asked what the mechanism is. That's the best one I can think of right now. Would be through a video game like the others were, because we know this has happened twice before with Mimic AI getting into people, and both times were through video games.
So
and we know that FNAF World is a video game.
Yes,
Also, hi, Unwithered.
What's up? I will. I'm going to read the super chat in a moment, but my sort of criticism of the theory in general is that you're now looking for a video game that caused David's possession because Dave Afton's possession, because you've sort of already decided he's brainwashed, so now you're looking for the mechanism of him to be brainwashed, as opposed to finding the evidence that he was brainwashed and then concluding something. Like, you're sort of looking for the thing to justify your conclusion instead of finding evidence and then concluding something.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I agree that's just a valid way to go against things. I think when you have new information, it's perfectly fine to look back at old things and see if information and instances are repeated.
Yeah, I think because TJ's was explaining this to me earlier about the FNAF World thing, and I had the exact same initial reaction: is this about CC being dead and then getting replaced post-mortem into being David Murray? And I was like, that seems to be a very different mechanism to how it works with Gregory, because Gregory's alive, and it's like, it's not really any good for the Fiona spirit to replace a different dead kid with her dead kid, because it's like, well, he's still dead, she still wants to bring him back. And then you've got the whole, like, I'll put you back together. It's like, well, you're already trying to put back together your son anyway, so why does replacing a dead kid with your dead kid change anything? But I will say, in terms of the, like, working backwards thing, I think looking at Gregory and saying, okay, well, he seems to be, when it comes to Balloon World seems to be the mechanism that we could, latch this theory onto with Gregory. So I think it's fair then to look back. It's not just like, we've come up with this random idea that he's possessed, and so we need to, maybe it's video games. It's like, the evidence is there that Gregory could have been possessed by Balloon World, so we're trying to see if that matches up anything with CC. I don't necessarily think FNAF World is the answer, but
it's the best one I can come up with so far. I don't think we're supposed to have everything right now. I don't think we can solve it right now.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Are you saying, is it M2 who's trying to continue his own conscious and upload himself, or is it Fiona who's trying to continue to upload him? Or
I
F10?
think Fiona wants a quote put back together close quote version of David.
Okay, so Fiona's mostly the one who's
Fiona would be the one.
mechanisms.
Yes, the Fiona would be the one trying to achieve this.
I have a question for you about the plush, but I am going to answer the super chat first. So Sauce's Beston says, "What if we were wrong? And CC's name is Cassidy, and Dave is for Dave Murray." So this is...
I thought of that yesterday.
This is what Dual Process believes, and it would mean that the logbook is Crying Child Cassidy and David Murray Dave.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which would mean that they're not both David, and it's like, Cassidy, the girl that we think she is not a character in the continuity.
Which, let me follow up on that real fast, because they donated. I'll throw another, like, token into there. We hear from the Patient 46 tapes that when Gregory is possessed, he's going, quote, back and forth with himself in his own head. And so, like I'm saying, just looking at, you can say it's illogical, whatever, but if we are just looking for pattern recognition and trying to see things there, you could argue that is what's also happening in the logbook, is somebody going back and forth with themselves. Mm-hmm. It's Dave talking to Cece. Or sorry, Dave talking to, Dave talking to Cassidy, Dave talking to Cece, because that is a motif that later we are told happens with Gregory in his own head. And also, you misunderstood me yesterday, GiBi. I wasn't saying that the thing with the rabbit ears was what he was talking to. I think that's a different thing.
So you think that when they say the security camera picked you up talking to someone or something, is he talking to like Vanessa or Glitch Trap or Burn Trap or something?
I think it would be either Vanessa or MXES.
Okay.
I think the voice in his head is something different.
Oh.
The voices. Do we all think that Glitch Trap is Fiona?
Jeez, I don't know about that.
Okay.
So one of my things with this idea is Afton post this game is going to have to come into possession of everything that Murray has been working on.
Yes.
Because that's like the whole goal that he has. So once the house burns down and it's like, you know, they can move in and just sweep in because it's like, oh well, Murray's completely vanished. Like we can just acquire all of his assets, you know, pay off all the loans and stuff that he has, and we'll just acquire everything because we already own the land and we're going to just acquire the whole building. He's going to get everything mimic wise that is left in MCM, and the way we've characterized Afton up to this point is that he's somebody who's obsessed with this idea of immortality and continuing his life forever and ever and ever. And we still have yet to get an explanation as to why Glitch Trap is at all like Afton. Like, we still don't know what the connection is between him and the Mimic. Like, we have no sort of way of him coming into contact with it. We assumed for a while that, like, oh, it played Help Wanted, and so it knows what Springtrap is. But I think the reason that it looks like a felt suit rather than the Spring Bonnie costume is to establish that it's from an earlier point in the timeline, which could be around this time. So I think the idea of Afton coming across the Mimic and being like, or coming across Fiona in the basement and being like, hey yo, Fiona, you are literally immortal. Like, I know that you
Hey yo,
person. Hey yo, you died like a few years ago, and now here you are, fully conscious, remembering everything, and you're alive. You want your son back? I'll help you get your son back. You make me into an immortal AI consciousness, or help me figure out this whole AI thing or mimic thing, or I'm going to help make you, or I'm going to help build another mimic or whatever for him. Or he's going to imprint onto her. He's going to overwrite Fiona or whatever.
Okay, so I have three things to say. Hold on, just because I definitely want to answer the super chat. One, I want to ask about the identity of Psychic Friend Fredbear now with new context. Two, I sort of disagree with the notion that William has been characterized as someone who's seeking immortality. I think that the motivation given in the games is rebuilding Dave, unless we now think Psychic Friend Fredbear someone else. And then I want to answer the super chat, which is, can Yellow Eyes be recontextualized to the Mimic? So Yellow Eyes in FNAF World, which is, again, I think going to play into this, who is Psychic Friend Fredbear? Because if he's like Fiona or something, then now we don't have William saying, I will put you back together, which means that he's not killing to bring his son back, which means Wilkare is dead, and means that he would have a different motivation. So, like, is that what you think?
Well, if it's a Mimic inside, and I don't think it's a mistake that one of the teasers, one of the biggest things in this game as like one of Murray's inventions, is a little doll with black and white eyes which talks to you and then repeats stuff back.
Yep.
I think that if the Psychic Friend Fredbear is a Mimic, it could be repeating stuff that Afton has said. Like, what if we find out that the Psychic Friend Fredbear was sitting on the table when he was talking to Fiona or whatever, and he was like,
"I would be so cursed,"
together, you know? And then it's repeating stuff, because there's a return form, which this is interesting. There's a return form for the Mushmen musical, whatever. It says, yeah, at first it was great. It learned all my son's songs, but then it started repeating stuff I'd heard on TV. Then it started repeating stuff me and my husband were talking about in private conversations.
Christ.
So it's like,
that's so fun. I love that.
yeah. So the little plush bear is not just it's like basically like a little surveillance thing. Like, it's listening to everything all the time, and it's learning because it's the Mimic. So if the plush bear is in the Afton house, or is part Fiona or part Glitch Trap or whatever the hell it is, it's learning from Afton. It's learning from things that he's saying. It's learning from things that he would say. And we also know it's capable of generating its own speech. It's not purely recall and replay. So it could definitely be a Mimic thing. I don't like that.
You've seen the secret notes in the files, right, GiBi?
Answer would be.
Which secret notes in the files?
I had a strange sensation yesterday. It was like deja vu, like certain events had happened 5 or 6 times before.
So me and Unwithered...
That's not in the files, that's in the return area.
Me and Unwithered found that on stream on the desk of someone named Rodney, And we did talk
Yeah.
about it, but we weren't entirely sure what it could mean.
And
But
the other one is we were expecting
Well,
there were complications. Consciousness was
so-
lost for an undetermined time.
that's sort of my point, is that those two are
Yeah.
going around on Twitter as being paired with each other, but they're not. Like,
Yeah,
they're not found in the
just
same
subjective
location.
file.
They're like, this is Fiona and this is
Yeah.
Edwin. It's like, well, actually, this one's Rodney.
There's actually another one that is paired with Rodney, which is him scribbling out a Murray costume memo form, and it says "Do not trust them." Or
It's
"Can't
not to be
trusted," or
trusted
something like that.
specifically.
Not
But
to be
also
trusted.
here, actually, let me share my screen really quick because the handwriting on those is. Oh wait, no, you have your screen shared. Never mind. The handwriting on those is super different. I'm gonna post it in the chat.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're written by the same person.
Yeah.
I'm just saying
Yeah.
they're two events that describe. One of them is if the history repeats itself. Another one is we were a happy family again. I would never sleep again. So presumably the second one is something to do with M2, because it says I would never sleep again, which is what happens in Moon.exe.
It also says like
Presumably,
corrupted
yeah.
memory. It says something about corrupted memory file or whatever.
Yes,
So it's like
Yes.
it's a robot talking about itself, and it's like, my brain is breaking. What do I do?
Yep. Just to read the super chat, just got in. Can
yep.
someone explain Catch Me Up? So we're talking about the connections between David Murray and Dave the Crying Child, how they have the same name, they both died on their birthday. Is there a connection between them? And how Gregory definitely has a connection to David Murray, given that they have the exact same design, and we have these two
So does the
photos of
crying
them from the game.
Never mind.
And
Never
so
mind.
does the Crying Child, you're correct. So now we're talking about some notes that were in the game.
My idea is like if they're not meant to be linked, why make them all the same? You could have given Gregory and David a fucking purple shirt with a circle on it. You know. Yeah, if you weren't meant to shove Crying Child in there, why have all this shit shoving Crying Child in there?
I think that when William got the land, because we are currently thinking that the underneath Edwin's house segment that we play through is literally sister location, right? Like that becomes sister location.
It becomes later on, yes.
Which means that he likely found everything that's down there.
Correct.
So
correct,
he uncovers the secret of the mimic years later after everyone involved is dead, and he's like, yoink, this is mine now.
Well, that might be why he repossesses the land in the first place, because we see from the tapes that there's a leak and they know about M2 and they want it, but Edwin won't give it to them. So him going out of his way to take that property might be because he really wants that M2. He wants to figure out what the fuck is this thing.
All right, Candy, you said you want to go next?
Do you want to do the super chat first?
Sure. So $10 super chat from Rid Tom. Fiona has a bad feeling if she doesn't go. So yes, Fiona said that if she's going to Fall Fest, which is where she eventually dies, that she says that she will have a bad feeling that like if she doesn't go, something bad will happen. M2, which is David, says Sun Death was senseless. Or sorry, M2 is the mimic who's mimicking both Edwin and David, but Fiona believes is David. M2 says Sun Death was senseless and last seen alone. Owl David attacked by Gator alone. Fiona thwarted William Afton at Fall Fest, and William Afton killed her and David in retaliation. So yes, because we don't technically know how David died in the game, some people do think that perhaps William killed him the way that he, like, killed Charlie. So yes, he could be the Gator in that scenario, although I think Unwithered will have an issue with that.
There's a lot of stuff with that. I just replayed.
The mound is a pile of ash.
the-
Skull emoji.
Sorry, Candy, you wanted to go. I'll talk about
Sorry,
the
go.
moon at the end of it.
I was going to establish that I personally am not on board with the majority of what has been said in this chat, but that's only because I finished the game after everyone, so I'm still like forming all my theories, you know. And it's a long train of thought to get from where the game ends to where you guys' theories are right now, and I'm not.
It was my first thought when I walked into that FNAF 4 bedroom. I was like, fuck. All right, we're done.
I think that the photo to me, the first time I saw it, I thought that it was more likely hearkening to the fact that like that's Fiona and David on the hill, and it looks a lot like Gregory and Freddy on the hill. I thought it was supposed to establish in some way that Fiona is linked to Freddy, and that's why Freddy was the one who, did his little thing, and that David and Gregory aren't actually particularly linked at all. It's just that Fiona's way back forever ago code of, my son who I love, who I want to save, is what kicks off security breach the way it does.
Yes.
Yeah, that could be. Absolutely. Absolutely. I can understand that.
I did say to T-Det, to True Judge yesterday, that it's possible that the reason that the brainwashing worked on Gregory is because he is like David, as opposed to them making him like David. Like he is sort of easier to imprint all this information on because he's already David-esque. All right, I'm whether you can say your bit.
Yeah, I took it as like when I saw that I went, oh, so Gregory is David and Fiona is Glamrock Freddy. So I definitely made the Glamrock Freddy Fiona thing. But I think to have one half be a robot, the other half be a kid in a striped shirt sitting on the same hill looking out, like the idea of it just being like, oh, it's only one half of this equation is literally the same, and the other half is just like kind of a parallel. I think if we were going with the, oh, don't these mirror each other? You know, they're literally mirroring each other like flipped images. But I don't know, the idea of only half of the image and the one which is actually more visually similar being the non-literal connection was something I think if it's a literal connection between the two characters, it would be weird to dress them, you know, in the same clothing, put them in the same positions. Obviously they're flipped again, but I think it's also interesting that they're not looking out toward where the factory would be or the Pizzaplex would be. They're looking away from it. And so it's presumed they're turned around.
I have 3 things for you guys to mull over, and then I will start reading all these super chats.
Holy money, bro.
So, okay. So, in this, David is holding Tiger Plush, but Cece, like, isn't. Or, sorry, oh my god, Gregory isn't.
Yeah.
Gregory, and this is just like a stupid parallel flip the wrong way. So, Gregory's stripes are at the top of his torso, just under his arms, and David's are at the bottom toward, like, the hem of his shirt. So it's like a vertical
I need to comment here.
Flip.
I have to comment here.
Okay, you can comment here.
In the video game Five Nights at Freddy's 4, David's stripes are at the top, but in the only canon drawing commissioned by Scott of the Crying Child in history, the stripes are at the bottom.
Okay. Very true. And then one last thing before one last thing before I start answering these for you guys just to think about for a second, is that in the fake Ruin ending, Helpy, who I think most of us believe is symbolic of David, is here.
Yeah.
Oh, he is next to Gregory, isn't he?
Yeah, so give me 1 second. I'm going to answer all the... Don't yap. None of you yap. You can think about what I just said. I'm going to answer these questions.
I want another.
All right. Off topic. Dead by Daylight glitch trap skin has been seen. It has lore.
Is he out?
Yeah, I think it launches either today or tomorrow, sometime very soon. So glitch trap, I didn't even know that was going to be a skin, has lore, so we can look at that at some point. You should look at the sister location source code with the understanding David's party was pre-booked for Saturday and what novelties were sent to see what you got.
Oh, private. Fuck off. No.
Yep.
No.
Private, because it could be for a partner, you know, like you're using your business partner, which is different than just a regular party. So
his birthday is Saturday, isn't it, in the game? It
Saturday,
is
December 6th or something.
Wait,
that's fucked. That's so fucked up.
And then,
private in the source code?
In one of the logs, Edwin says that F10NA, Fiona Robot, and M2 aren't the real ones, and they're just machines trying to replicate her. Yes, so that is a line that a lot of people use to say that the mimics are not actually haunted. It's just mimicry. I believe all 4 of us disagree with that interpretation. My personal thought on that line is that is Edwin. Basically, he's tried to build M2 multiple times. He can't get David to possess it properly. Fiona's like, hey, you should keep trying. His business is failing. All of his employees have left. Fazbear's like closing in to buy his company. And he just sort of like loses it. He's like, you're not real, and then stomps away. Basically, I think that he's just incorrect.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Edwin has any concept, if they are haunted, that they're haunted.
Right, he's right. It is Saturday where there's a private party. It is Saturday.
Yeah, but hang on. Are we saying that then?
No, wait, that's impossible, though. No, that's impossible. Yeah, that's literally impossible. No, that's literally impossible.
Also, they don't have
because the bunker is the same bunker.
In there. They have,
yeah.
They also have the birthday in
Murray's Costume Manor. Yeah, I'm saying it's impossible. Sister location wouldn't even exist yet.
Sister location didn't exist until the unfortunate closing of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Well, until the whole thing we're playing in burned down. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we're good. That's a good connection. It could be another example of history repeating itself.
Yeah.
But it can't be the same.
What novelties were sent? What novelties were sent?
They don't say. There was birthday accessories, novelties, birthday props. That's it. Just as accessories from Chica's Party World, novelties, and birthday props.
M1 is just Modus from Fallout. Yeah. I have played New Vegas, but I don't know what Modus is. M2 is a spirit box. So a spirit box is basically an REG, it's the field, It's a machine you can get that spouts out random words, and the idea is that if you're near a ghost, it can, like in real life, people believe it can manipulate the field to communicate by using random words in the box. And yes, I think most of us think that is canon in FNAF, but I do not think that M2 is that. I think that M2 is possessed by David.
I do not see glitch trap lore anywhere. I don't know what that guy was talking about.
You know about this, the suit? I don't know.
Oh, okay. This is another...
Maybe it's in the description or something.
Another good thing that Theory Chum pointed out. So we were just saying, oh, sister location can't possibly exist back then because it wouldn't yet. But they do interactions with Chica's party world, which we've seen to exist.
Correct. Yes. Correct.
So the idea that
schedule theory would be broken.
So that would be from before. Yeah, that would destroy schedule theory. Crying emoji.
So like
that would suck.
It would have to mean that Chica's party world existed, got folded into Freddy's for the MCI location. Freddy's closes down, sister location opens, and then for some reason Chica's party world is still in existence.
Oh, here we go. I found it. I found the. Can we can
glitch
you
trap?
put my screen on stream? I found the glitch trap skin.
But I don't know if I can do that.
I still don't understand what the files are from the past, but the files are still from after David is dead. Because the sister location can't exist before David is dead. So I don't understand what the Saturday connection is. I might be just misunderstanding, but like the files are, whether they're from 1983 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, it doesn't matter. It's all after David is long dead.
If you're looking at an image, T-Dreads, I can put that on screen, but I can't.
No, it's audio. His voice lines are out. Quiet for a sec.
Okay, if you can play them over the call, it should be fine.
He's like, I'm Fiona.
Oh my god.
I'm trying to listen. Stop talking, please. Just for 1 second.
Just deafen the call.
Wow, that was a super lore heavy voice line.
Oh,
he went like
God.
this. Holy shit!
Oh my God.
I can't believe glitch trap scream is canon.
He kind of just grunts, says Cryptic Luca. Is there an image? Is there more? Okay.
Oh, glitch trap. Here it is. Glitch trap is a mascot made from the machine. He's a virtual manifestation of evil made flesh in the entity's realm. A mascot made by the machine. Who's the machine? The mimic?
The AI. Yeah, the AI.
Is that? Oh.
Well, just help on it. I don't know.
Yeah, glitch trap is a mascot made from the machine.
Like glitch trap, capital G, person is like a virus, but that does not mean that the glitch trap suit, right, like that version of Bonnie, didn't exist.
Well, it says he's a mascot made from the machine.
Well, you know what? If he didn't exist, because we are also, I think, in the game implying that the Springlocks, as they will be in the future, like as we see them, like with Springtrap and whatever, they already exist, and that they're contracting Edwin to make new ones, and that's what the prototypes are. But if we're saying that glitch trap felt suit didn't exist physically in real life, it would make sense that of all the characters who might design it, it would be Fiona, who is specifically a character designer in this game. So like if she's creating an entity, she might be like subconsciously designing. I mean, it's kind of silly because it's like in her subconscious, like, and he should have little stars on his vest, like.
Yeah, that's even more. Yeah, Helpy and Gregory hanging out. That's good, GiBi. That's so good.
1 second. Theory Chum says the novelties in Chica's party world is the party in a box that we find in the room in Secret of the Mimic.
What room?
The party room where you go in and there's the moldy cake and the molding pizza.
Oh, that's what he thinks it is? I think they ordered it from Afton. But that would mean that they were ordering stuff from Afton Robotics.
Which they could have been.
Because Afton Robotics is already a company by the time of the source code. That's weird.
Well,
also,
Henry and William are they have a company. Faster Entertainment exists, which predates the 1983 date that we've had up to this point, which is very odd. So like it's possible that they did the same thing that Circus Babies will end up doing in the future.
So maybe I'm misunderstanding, but are they separating the Chica Party World part of the code away from the schedule? But it's Afton, so I guess it's Afton Robotics client directories have Chica Party World there, because the part with the fun times being rented out cannot be before 1983 or 1980, whenever the first Freddy's closes. So the rental service has to open after the Party World, and the Party World has to close
after the MCI.
Or the Party
All right,
World can
wait, I
close before
found
the
gameplay.
MCI,
I'm
but
deafening myself to
the
listen to this.
rental has to open after.
Yes.
So, and that's the rental service, which is the source code. I could still be definitely misunderstanding, but
it's possible that Afton Robotics has existed, let's say, like for a decade, and that Chica's Party World was an old client of theirs, and that it's still in their files, right? We were talking yesterday about how files get left over from video game to video game, right? Like we found ruined data inside of Secret of the Mimic. So maybe the implication is that, oh yeah, Chica's Party World, that old thing that we used to contract out to. Sauce says
I could
each piece, like Knife, has written backstory. So that's Dead by Daylight. Yeah, the items you can get, like in the original, or sorry, in the demo, Remnant and like Gabriel's Mask had lore in them. So I think that's what he's talking about. I'll tell TD.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with this image of the two of them on the hill, we've got Helpy and Gregory eating ice cream, and Vanessa over there eating ice cream as well. Ice cream is David's, like, ice cream.
And Elizabeth.
And I think there is a handwritten note, and Elizabeth, yeah. Mm-hmm. There is a handwritten note in this game, and at least in the files, I don't know if I saw it in person, but of David writing ice cream.
Yes, and then it turns into I Scream. I found that. It's in it's around where Jackie's gift box is. It says ice cream. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, so we have the three of them here. I mean, you could say it's like the two Davids next to each other. You've got the AI, you've got the recreated one, and then Vanessa's just chilling over there. This is also a weird one because it seems to be created by the Mimic to trap Cassie in a false, like, happiest, because it's called it's the Brazil ending, right? And that's all about a fake reality.
Yes, a fake reality showed to Cassie by the Mimic. And again, just to catch chat up, because Mr. Helpful is Edwin and Mrs. Helpful is Fiona, the idea is that Helpy is representative of David. So if the Mimic chasing you is M2 and is David, he catches you or whatever, and now we see David here hanging with Gregory, like, come join us. So David next to Gregory is like, we're both friends, we're in the same place, come here. I think it's very important. I don't know what it means, but I think it's very important.
And you've got the Happiest Day balloons floating up, which to me is also confirming that this is the hill in the FNAF 6 ending.
David's grave at the
top.
All
right, I have the lore.
David's grave at the top of the hill?
David's grave is at the top of the hill. That's what I'm thinking. I don't think it's Charlie actually at the top of the hill, like we used to think.
Oh my god.
That's cursed. Oh, that's cursed. You're right. That's so
in the books,
big.
Charlie is buried. I know she's not buried on a hill. I think that's the graphic novel gets that wrong, but she is buried under a tree as far as I remember.
Yep.
So if we're going with this is the game's version of the Silver Eyes, like an adaptation.
Oh my god.
David would be the one on top of the hill.
He's the child that got rebuilt as a robot. Oh my god.
Let me give you the lore.
Okay, give us knife lore.
Okay, so basically, Glitch Trap has a total of 2 voice lines. A total of 2. The first one is a new shush sound effect. They redo the animation, so instead of turning you around and screaming at you, he turns you around and goes shush, but is a new shush. And the Mori sound effect for when he Moris you is a filter put over PJ Haywood laughing.
Okay.
That's it. Those are the only. That's it.
Did you find the descriptions of the items?
Wait, he has custom items?
Yes. So, like, you know how we learned Gabriel's name from the Springtrap one?
Yes. All right, hold on.
Yeah,
Let me go back.
That's what chat's saying.
All right, going in, Definite. I'm going in.
Okay, bye. Love you, bye. Someone in chat...
Well, just a skin? Is he going to have different items than the regular skin Springtrap?
Chat is saying that his knife does have a different description.
Oh, cool.
Candy, I see that you're talking to them in chat about how Chica's Party World possibly closed in 75.
Oh, yeah. They were talking about the profits thing where that starts to go down at 73 and then is down all the way at 75. And chat was saying maybe that's not about Murray profits, but is instead about Chica's Party World profits specifically, and saying that they closed then because the profits were tanked. but because it's in the location with all the Chica's Party World merch.
Yes. Oh yeah, that room is like literally only Chica's Party World stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And a projector, I think, for some reason.
Mm-hmm,
Okay, Rid Tom. Edwin used radio scan to hear Fiona's voice. M1 log note TFTP.
Tales from the Pizzaplex.
Tales from the Pizzaplex. Death referred as corrupt memory. FNAF World has meta references and is tied to the afterlife. The Vanny Network portal Soulbots. Soul learning of FNAF multiverse.
So I do think that the corrupt memory thing is really weird, and I don't know what to think about
Tails
it. And
dreams.
I think, yeah, but Tails dream. See the note. If anyone hasn't seen it, there's a note which is it's like a handwritten note which says like corrupt. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So it's that's not.
It's
it,
not
actually.
this
That's a
one. It's
different
the
one.
other one we don't. Yeah, I'll try to find it.
Yeah, it's in the secret VIP one. I'll find it and I'll read it out.
I have it on Twitter. I'll get it faster.
Oh yeah, I got it. So, memory error, detail report. We were expecting ... There were complications ... Consciousness was lost for an undetermined time. Once I woke, we were all together and happy, a family, but something was different. I felt wrong somehow. Was I me? I would never sleep again. Corrupted file suspected, please advise. So, this is basically whoever's writing this, and I assume it's supposed to be Fiona, whether it's the Fiona or M1 or whatever, is saying, I was remembering being pregnant, there were complications, and then consciousness was lost for an undetermined time, to me, basically says she died.
Yes.
And she experienced her own death. And then she woke up, and everything was different. And everyone was happy, and they were all a big family. But something was different is like, yeah, but it wasn't just that she didn't die. It was like the factory was better and they had loads of employees and I felt wrong somehow. Was I me? I would never sleep again. So this is like she's remembering a different timeline, which is what's in the book.
Wait, I think
there's weird.
I think there's a much easier explanation though for the we were expecting there were complications, and that's the audio log where she says you can do it again, you just have to rebuild M2. And I think that what she's expecting is the first iteration of M2 that was David, and then Edwin shut it down because it wasn't working. And then she says, please, please, please rebuild it, make it again. And that's when he loses his temper and he's like, no, I'm never making it again, and I never want to see you again. So I think when she says we were expecting, she means we were expecting M2 David, not real David.
So
and then there were complications. I lost consciousness for an undetermined amount of time, as in she got taken out of her endoskeleton and put into the computer, and she can never sleep again because we see the endoskeletons have some sort of sleep function, but her computer doesn't really in the same way.
So it's a robot's...
Well, then I would wonder...
There's no new items.
It's a robot's understanding of like a miscarriage. She's like, oh, we were expecting... Because to her, a robot would be the same as a real child because she thinks
That's
that
a crazy
she's real.
sentence to come back to.
Yeah, so she's like, build me the robot, right? Like her and Edwin, like, conceiving this robot child. She's expecting it, and then it doesn't come.
See,
and then she's like turned off and rebooted or something.
Mm-hmm.
Then I don't know what the corrupted file thing is, because what was like, I don't, and it's not them all being together as a happy family, because they were never the three robots, like, or the two robots and Edwin were never like all together in a happy family. I think something was different. I felt wrong somehow. What, like, complications? I understand like the connection between like a robot, giving birth versus creating a new robot, whatever. But the corrupted file suspected, please advise, and it's specifically referring to a memory error. That's like, I'm a machine, I'm looking back, but I'm remembering all this other stuff. I remember dying, and I remember having complications. I don't understand why I'm remembering all this stuff. Was I me?
Am I not me? Or am I me? What's
not
Glamrock's Freddy?
I am not me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am
Fiona. Is wondering where this note is found specifically.
I don't know.
Twitter says the underground moon section, but I cannot verify that. The other one that's often tied with it is found in Rodney's office, which is the return office, and these two are not.
Mimic il vero segreto.
This though is, I would never sleep again. This is making me think of what I was like basically coming to the conclusion on in moon.exe, and it's a weird one, and it's probably not correct, but I just wanted to put it out there and see if anyone else understands my chain of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So I replayed moon.exe, and I was trying to figure out who are we, first of all, who are we playing as? Who is Sun? Who is Moon? And I wasn't going into it with just the base assumption of like, oh, Moon is Murray and Sun is Fiona, etc., etc. And I was going through it, and something I found that was interesting is, first of all, we are referring to David, if we're assuming David is the owl, because that seems to be the closest connection, right? If we're assuming David is the owl, we are referring to him as a separate entity to us. So it's not like
Correct.
some people have been like, oh, you're the mimic, you're M2, you're thinking that you're David. But we refer to David as if he is a lost child of ours. Like, we are referring to, like, that was his favorite thing. This was our favorite restaurant, blah, 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 blah.
Let me add on to that.
Yeah.
It's one detail, just one. When you put on the owl mask, the moon cries.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you, as the protagonist, pretend to be the owl, and the moon cries. So I feel like you must be mimic.
So, well, yes, but hang on. So once we save the little baby owl from the alligator, we can feed it, we can pet it. It says it looks at us with love in its eyes. It nuzzles up against us. We feed it, we take care of it. Then we go to the witch's hut, and Sun is in there, and she talks to us about fixing these 3 masks, and we fix the 3 masks for. There's nothing in the oven. The baby owl is up on the shelf.
TD, check Discord.
Then we go in
Raspberry?
and
in the chat, I sent you something that chat said. For you.
I already. Oh yeah, glitch. Yeah, Fazbear Entertainment just sent me Glitch Trap. I've already seen all this stuff.
So there's no new lore in the items.
There is no new items.
Okay.
You think they put more effort into the game?
Chat's insisting there are, but sorry, on whether
there are. Okay, I mean, I'll tell Fazbear to send me the knife. Let me see. Hover over the knife, because it's only the knife is the new one. That's the only.
We believe that the note in game is in the underground moon section. People also are asking, like, what is in the moon mascot costume, because it seems unlikely to be the mimic. But we can talk
think
about
it's a
that.
guy.
We can talk
Look
about
at the way,
that
like
after.
he. Okay.
I thought it was a guy too, to be honest. I thought it was the guy who got stuck down there and went insane.
Yeah, there's a guy who does get stuck down there, but it does also sound quite robotic when it's singing, so I don't know. But anyway, so we go to the witch's hut and
good night. With pink
we go to the witch's hut and
light.
we fix the three masks, and then the witch says, very good, I will give you this mask. And she gives us the baby owl mask. And what she says is, I wrote it down here, she said, this is a magical mask. You have your reward and your sacrifice. And what she says is, this magical mask will trick the moon into thinking you are the owl. And then we go to the cave, and the moon is there. It cries when it sees us in the mask. We go up to the statue, and the note that we have is, let me see, what does it say? A statue of the baby owl. You will bring him back no matter the cost. It also makes reference to our favorite restaurant. The tree says that your owl is gone. There's a lot of stuff referring to the owl as like something of yours, even though you're pretending to be the baby owl. And then you get all the way to the end, and then you meet Sun in the bedroom, and she gives you the glitched permissions or whatever, and says, now you will get your reward. Use this to bring him back. It's all in your hands now. And there's this weird thing about pretending to be the baby owl, which I think is quite interesting. And I wonder if the implication is because in one of the logs, Fiona says to Murray about M2, she says, I know that M2 started as a copy of my program, but it is not me. It is something different. I wonder if the implication is that M2, at least in the beginning, or at least in the context of moon.exe, is actually a copy of Fiona, which becomes corrupted and is pretending to be David. And that Sun, whatever Sun is in moon.exe, if that's the Fiona program or another version of Fiona, or actually Fiona's ghost or something, her goal is to actually bring back David. But David himself hasn't come back, and her goal is to use the M2 to get Murray to do stuff for her to bring the real David back. But it doesn't work because Murray turns on it and beats the shit out of it and teaches it rage. And this is weird. I just think it's really interesting that she gives you that mask and goes, here, take this, pretend to be the baby owl. And also, once you do that, once she gives you that mask, you turn around and the oven is on. It smells like something's cooking. It says smells like chicken. And then when you ask the son where the baby owl went, she goes, it flew away. And all the masks on the wall, this was something we actually didn't see in this playthrough, but all the masks on the wall are now growling at you. So something you've done in the witch's hut has angered all the masks on the wall. And the baby owl, I think the baby owl's in the oven. I think she's done something with David's spirit.
So you think Fiona killed?
I don't know if Fiona killed David, or I don't know, because then I don't know why she'd want to bring him back. If she kills him to just bring him back.
So,
but
Fiona is tasked, Edwin's like, Fiona, go and get him from the playground, bring him in for his birthday.
Yeah.
Robot Fiona goes outside, sees his mangled corpse in the road, picks him up, and then the same way that Charlie, possesses the puppet, he then possesses her physical body, which is already possessed by Fiona. So now, they're both inside there. Which is how it's a program that's split off from her. That's all I got.
Wait, so when you see you get a mask of the baby owl, which is David, probably, and you pretend to be David, you don't see that as you are M1 pretending to be the real David? Or sorry, M2 pretending to be the real David?
That's what I'm saying. Is that M2
that is what you're saying? Okay.
My name is David. Dad,
I'm saying that M2 is pretending to be David to get something. Yeah. Now I don't know how that fits into the wider context, or if this is like a metaphor within a metaphor or something. But I think it's really interesting that the baby owl is sacrificed for you to pretend to be the baby owl.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell?
But it's also like the baby owl. Then you're working to bring it back. So.
True. Yeah. Uses to bring it back.
I don't.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't know why
it's contradictory.
The son seems to both be responsible for killing the baby owl and also for wanting to bring the baby owl back, unless the baby owl is the crying child.
In 1970?
Yeah, in a million years before he's born. But I mean, we don't know how much of this is in context in universe, actually being a program written in universe that's got the moon telling Arnold because because she says at the end oh, you've picked up all my gifts and now you have my whatever. It's did the M1 program get a load of these prize boxes and hide them around the Pizzaplex for him to do a scavenger hunt and never told him about them? Why is that her goal? I think it's more, there's a lot more video game isms happening around this than it's not literally exactly what's happening. In the same way that you're not literally punching in wall tiles in FNAF 3.
Oh, I just got an idea, GiBi.
Yep.
What if maybe I'm thinking of, what's the story where the kid finds an old Freddy mask and he puts it on and then he thinks that he is the old Freddy guy?
You're the band?
You're the band? What if that might be what's happening? It's actually not as bad, and the crying child just lives in David Murray's own house, so he sometimes gets David Murray type feelings inside of him.
Yes, so that's what I believe.
Okay, so that would be less cringe. Yeah, I'll give you that. I hope that's what's happening.
So it's just God Victim, but it's David rather than Dave.
For me, and we have so many things to circle back to. My overall belief, my counter to God David would be something to the effect of God Fiona, which I am trying to come up with a better name for, but something to the effect of everything that's ever been Fazbear related has the agony of the Murray family in it, and then as time goes on, it also gets the agony of the Emilys and the Aftons, etc. And the FNAF 4 house is built over Edwin's old house. And Fredbear's and later Sister Location and the Pizzaplex are built over Murray's Costume Manor, etc. And so I believe that Fiona is down there the entire time, and so she sort of is able to guide all the stuff going on above her, using the fact that she is both part ghost because she's haunted and also a machine, and so she has the field. And so the reason that things keep repeating, the reason that the Afton family kind of mirrors the Murray family, the reason that Gregory kind of mirrors them, is because she's minorly manipulating things in such a way to make history repeat itself, to try to get the good ending.
See,
so
I think both are equally possible.
I think it is absolutely possible that Fiona, the ghost, or the agony, or whatever, is possessing the robot, the mimic. The only thing is, there's a couple of things that make me not 100% sure. And one of them is, first of all, that Edwin builds the M1 after Fiona's already dead. So the first thing, like, so he's talking to David about, like, oh God, I don't know what I'm going to do. How am I going to tell him his mother's gone? I can't take care of him, whatever. My life is ruined. Then we have an audio log of him introducing David to M1.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have a log which he doesn't introduce M1 as Fiona. He's not like, look who it is. It's your mom. She looks a bit different. You know, like, he's introducing it as a robot that he's built for his son. He's like, oh, it can look like whatever you want. We'll put a costume on it later. But then we have the audio log in the Mimic blueprint room where he's saying, he's basically like set up a recorder, and he's like, oh, I heard her voice here. And he starts tuning his radio to 4625 as a frequency. And he starts to hear Fiona on the other line mimicking something that Fiona says in one of the film reels. And what I'm thinking is the motif of the mimic over the radio playing something that somebody trusts in a voice of a familiar
mimic is phone guy
loved one.
Oh my God.
is the like but playing the familiar voice over the radio in particular is how Fiona got Cassie. It's how Fiona got Arnold, and I think the implication is it's how she got Edwin. Like, it's the repeated motif, and it specifically says the radio is crackling. It's not like a spirit box or anything. It's he is turning on his radio to 4625.
But on Withered.
That also happens in Tales.
But on Withered, the crying child trusts the Fredbear plush, and there's what looks like some sort of technological device on the Fredbear plush.
Oh,
Oh, it's a radio.
It's Fiona plush.
So just because he says
the...
just because he says it's The Grudge meets FNAF, I don't know anything about The Grudge, but probably.
Me neither.
Something about a girl that climbs out of something. Well,
that's The Ring, silly. That's The Ring.
No, that's not the well. That's a TV, isn't it?
It's the well and the
she
TV.
Climb out of the well and then
anyway,
she climbs out.
Everything in this whole story obviously is based in real life ghost lore that people have believed for thousands of years, and legends and other movies are also based on this. Like, that Scott Cawthon did not come up with all these tropes; he's using tropes. So if this is similar to The Grudge, that's why.
You were made for one thing, Mimic. You were made, Mimic, to be David. No, it's FNAF World.
Yeah, the FNAF World is the Mimic or something. I don't know. Yeah, I think that the thing with me is, I think maybe Fiona the robot thinks she's Fiona, but I have a harder time believing now after hearing that tape, because I didn't see that on my first run through. That tape to me is like, this all started with her tricking Edwin, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, the same way that she tricks Arnold, the same way that she tricks Cassie. It's putting on the voice of someone that you know to gain your trust. And then he has this whole crash out and he's like, you're not even her, blah, blah, blah. I know it could be, and he's wrong, but those two being specifically
holy
like,
money
areas. Oh, jeez. What's the
be getting paid out today.
Finish your thought and then I'll read the super chat.
Yeah, I just think I think with Fiona dying before the N1 is even built, dying at Fall Fest in a fire, which is in a different location to where the factory is, we can obviously do ghost lore and just kind of say, oh, it's just, magic. She possesses, her memory or Edwin's sadness or whatever infects the M1. But I think that might be more what it is. I don't think it's necessarily Fiona's ghost is possessing it in the same way that, say, Charlie's ghost is. Yeah, I think it's Edwin's sadness and pain is what gives the M1 the ability to wake up. it's not actually possessed by anything. It's not a consciousness of Fiona. I think it's being powered by his pain and sadness and memory of her.
Well,
it would kind of explain.
That is how Book Charlie is possessed. Book Charlie is not the ghost. Book Charlie is Henry's agony.
Yes.
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 You said unlike Charlie. Did you mean unlike Game Charlie?
Sorry, I meant Game Charlie. Okay. That like the robot is like lying on her dead body, and then she's like, "I'm very aware," you know.
Yeah.
Or the MCI or whoever you want to, Elizabeth, you know.
Yeah, this is the Silver Eyes.
Yes, yeah. If this is the Silver Eyes, then I think we're also maybe then splitting the Charlie bot into two characters. We've got like, or I guess we're saying that the Charlie bot initially, that is the good Charlie bot, is what makes Fiona, and then the Elizabeth Charlie bot thing is David. Like is
you've
M2.
successfully made me somehow think that the Fredbear plush is more likely to be Fiona now. I hate you.
Good. All right, so Tom says, Owl is David's spirit. Okay. The Gator is Old Man Consequences, trying to make him rest. David's spirit latches on to M2. In Moon.exe, Arnold uses Edwin and Fiona's voices to pacify M2. Or sorry, I'm guessing the Moon.exe ending. So yes, in the storybook, it uses the parents' ending. David Latch / with Diver help, and then David possesses M1 completely.
M1? Pacify M2, and then David possesses M. Where do you get the last? Yeah, I was following you up to the last part. When does David get into M1?
So we all agree that David happiest day moves on in that ending, like when his eyes close down?
I would assume so. My problem with that theory is that that's not what the Fiona robot gives you the things to do. The Fiona robot wants you to preserve it inside the meta endoskeleton, not to set him free. Yes. She wants to be with her son, not to let him rest. Yeah.
The end of Moon.exe is now you will get your reward. Use this to bring him back,
not let him rest. So I think maybe he's just going to bed. He might literally just be like, he might just fallen asleep. Yeah. That's why the eyes go off, because he's unconscious for the night.
Okay.
What I also don't understand is why Sun.exe, or like whatever you call the sun with the big pointy head that is at the end of the game, is that Fiona, or is that some other version of the entity? Because, but then why in the main game does Fiona not just say to you, "Oh, here, by the way, here's your glitch permission. Go into this secret room and put my child back together." Because
who fucking knows? But in the stream the other day, Fiona is represented by Sun through like for like 4 years now. If you go back to the old games, it is so obvious. Sun is the head of arts and crafts and Help Wanted 2.
I mean, the
Balloon World arcade game is in
shows up
in
when
Sun's
Fiona
room.
is on screen. Like it's on
it's
the
definitely
TVs.
Sun. Yeah, she's Sun.
But I just don't know why. Like, is this just completely non-canon? Like this isn't
then there's
even
not a
possibility?
game. Because then there's not a game if she did that.
Yeah, but
hey, I finally found the note in the moon room. I can verify that it's there.
Yeah, okay, cool.
It is in. There's like when you take the star initially and you have to go and put it around in places, it locks off that room. But it's where like mail is and such.
Right. Sauce says, isn't it explicitly that David Murray haunts the land? The tiger mascot's the only actual ghost we see. Pirate crew scene isn't attacking from Mimic, so it's ghost BS.
I think the pirate crew is being powered by
the storyteller.
Yeah, by whatever the storyteller equivalent is in this version.
Yeah, whatever the equivalent is,
Yeah, I mean, the building is also falling apart for no reason. So I think you can say David Murray. I mean, there's the part in Moon.exe where you like go up and touch some rocks that are making a little pile, and the rocks start crying at you. And it's like, oh, okay.
I mean, why can't he also be a projection? Why does he have to be either a projection or in the Mimic? Why can't David be a projection?
Aren't all ghosts?
Well, this is why I'm thinking maybe that the robots think that David is possessed, or think that David is the real David, but the real David is the ghost haunting the building, and something about the storytelling ending is combining
the real David. I remember that Fazbear Fright story.
So since we kind of started talking about the moon, the moon mascot suit in the basement is heavily implied to not be the Mimic because there's a log saying that they trapped it down there.
Just some fucking lunatic.
Yeah, so is it the guy that's been there for multiple years? Is he dead? Is it his ghost? Like, what's
Well,
Moon?
If you look at the way it moves, it's like bouncing on its feet. Like a dude. Yeah, it's like a dude.
And
it has a different voice too, obviously, and doesn't say any of the mimic lines. And then also in the storytime showroom, there's like it seems like that's where whatever it is belongs, because there's like a computer up there and it says we can't run this without the moon or something like that.
Lullaby.
Yes, and at the end of the game, the mimic never, like, he says no mimic lines, and the mimic says none of his lines.
Mimic line.
If it was,
wait a minute, wait.
He was trapped down there when humans were still working the building, though. So like, it's not Edwin. It can't be Edwin.
But like, what's he been eating?
He did.
Okay, what if? Okay, there's a story in, is it Ruin or Help Wanted to? I don't remember which. Of a woman.
He's about to say Edwin's in there.
No.
Oh
there's
my
a woman
God.
and her child who live in the woods, and there's a monster in the basement who learns a lullaby and lures the child into the basement and I think eats him or kills him or whatever, using the lullaby that he learns from the mother. And the ball is downstairs.
Oh my God.
I'm telling you, man, David got crushed by the moon.
Tell him, Candy. Yep.
You think Edwin killed David from inside?
Why are you saying it's
moon?
No. I don't think the moon. I think there's a lot going on with which moon is which, and if they're all represented.
Okay. Do you think the random employee in the basement in the moon costume murdered David?
I don't think he's the random employee.
You guys know the giant moon that falls through the floor that you find the ball inside of.
Yes.
Candy is saying that falling fell on top of David.
Bro, that is some actual field wanted that kid dead type shit.
That's what I think. At least that's what I thought when I played the game and I found the ball down there.
Wait,
I was like,
doesn't Fiona go
changed
outside? Doesn't Fiona go outside to get him?
There's a door right outside the retail showroom that opens up onto like the whole outdoor area. So he could have run out into the road, or he could have run into the retail showroom chasing his ball. And his ball is not out on the road. His ball is under the giant moon that fell. So
and I'm glad Fiona decided to wrap it up in a box too. That was nice.
Oh my God.
Yeah, where's the moon head in relation in the building? Because I know we go down in the elevator from the retail showroom, but where did it fall through? It fell through the TV studio, right?
I think it fell through the story
TV
time.
studio is?
I think it fell through the storytime showroom down to the carousel, down to that level.
Mm-hmm. So then, is the moon thing in the basement like a literal, like, I don't know, agony monster or something? Like, what is it? Like, if we're saying it,
it's a crackhead.
It's Edwin.
Do you think is it a monster that it like, because you've got the monster in the basement which lures the child, but that's hardly a metaphor for like a big thing fell and crushed a child. Like
that can't be it. No, it can't be that Edwin's in there because he says he can't feel his legs.
But what if I want him to be in there?
Live by the giant ball.
He says he can't feel his legs, and that dude is definitely using his legs.
No, it's not Edwin.
Yes.
Hold on, do the credits say who voiced them?
Lullaby, I'm in the mimic.
So just PKZ, Mr. Books himself says, so in The Grudge, a supreme feeling of anger or hurt can cause a perpetual haunting on a land that warps time and follows people. People misunderstand most of the ghosts. Yeah, so that's very similar to just what agony is in FNAF, and also, like, that's how I think it works. Right, like when I say, like, you know, the paper plate dolls move in FNAF 1, are they haunted by Remnant? No, I just think that everything is just kind of haunted. The building is haunted. There's like a curse.
Lullaby.
Yeah, do we think that there's like literally any of the spirits are actually like their ghosts, or are they just like sadness and pain just kind of put onto consciousness? Like it's nothing.
I think there's some real ghosts, but I think there's also just the building haunted.
Guys, I have bad news.
Oh no. Mm-hmm.
Edwin's voice actor voices the crackhead in the moon.
Okay. Wait, no way. Really?
He does, yep. Jim Meskman, Edwin Murray, Mr. Helpful, and Sleepy Moon.
Oh no.
I'm so freaking on it.
Lullaby, I'm in the moon.
As I was saying,
I killed my own son.
As I was saying, well, first of all, Edwin does say, like, oh, all those, or not Edwin, oh my god, Henry says all those tiny souls in FNAF 6, but the logs that say that they trapped whatever's down there were made by human employees, and Edwin did not die until long after all the humans left. So I don't think that can
killed my son,
be Edwin.
Fucked him up. I just murdered my son.
I can't freaking believe he voices him.
If if Moon is representative of Edwin's destructive side, which is what they call it in this, they call the Moon destruction and the Sun life. Could the Moon monster thing be like an agony manifestation of all of the badness of Edwin, which has seeped throughout the factory, and it's like made the suit come to life?
It's not a bad idea.
I like the
Bad
idea
idea.
that like Edwin went downstairs dressed in a moon costume and fucking murdered David, and then came up and went, David, no!
Oh my god.
Like I've said, Edwin isn't dead in the books, which doesn't mean he can't be dead here. But he does show up way later in the Pizzaplex era, so there's like a chance that they do want him to still be alive.
But now I
And if
can't
I
do
went-
anything but sing this stupid song.
If
That
you
was a
can't do
reference to
anything
him.
but sing
the
Yes.
My
Lullaby.
God,
That's
the
what his accent
field.
was. Oh,
The field told
Thank
Jackie's
you.
box.
If
The
it
field-
is Edwin, okay, then maybe the moon didn't crush David, and maybe Edwin brought the ball down here because it's a symbol of grief. Or maybe he went mad when he went down there and found the ball.
The
They
Moon
call me
costume
the-
is a giant head, and Edwin is very big-headed / egotistical.
True,
Is the greatest
true.
writer on
So
Earth.
base. Scott Cawthon is the
Scott
greatest
Cawthon.
writer on
They
earth.
call me the ball thief the way I disperse grief.
Oh my gosh!
All right, we do have a super chat from Tom. M1 was a typo. Meant M2 is taken over by David completely at the end of Moon.exe. Using the voice lines of the parent and the diver finds peace. So the only reason we're able to calm down M2 into David is because we had previously played Moon.exe. So kind of the same way that like you have to do all the FNAF 3 mini games to get Happiest Day, you have to play through Moon in order for M2 to even be capable of being calmed down into David when we then play the voice lines.
There's actually, and we got to remember, part of the lyrics are, lullaby and good night. My son's in the crying child.
Yes,
Oh
and
my god, that's why you said that.
for those who missed T-Dread's stream, I forget when this was, the song that the Moon Man sings is called Cradle,
hmm
which is also...
And it's produced by Eclipse.
What?
Well,
That's
no.
crazy.
This is an ancient lullaby that one of the studios who released it in more modern times is called Eclipse. But
Yeah,
the-
but those ones have, that's the same lyrics as the Moon. They all have different
Yes.
lyrics. The one with the same lyrics is the one he sings, is made by Eclipse.
yes, but the lullaby itself is called Cradle, which is
It
the
was performed by a woman named Clara.
the
Oh my God.
alternate
True.
name of MXES, because Fiona's like, do the Cradle program, which is MXES.
You know what's weird? The MXES machine is referred to as
Mimics
MXES
call me the
1
Moon.
because it's experimental storage, right? So that's experimental storage 1. But when we're in the office, in the building, in the MCM, not in the house, and we get the Mimic blueprints, and also Mimic is also an acronym, so we don't even know what that means. But
Yeah, I said that
Mimic,
earlier.
the blueprints, are referenced as experimental storage number 2.
Mhm.
So
Would that be because
It's
number
like-
1 is Mimic 1?
No,
Yeah,
there's two. There's
MXES
yeah.
is number 1.
Oh,
And number 2 is the Mimic blueprints. So I don't know what that means.
And
what if?
MXES is
I think I
Fiona's
know. I think
computer?
I know what it is. I think I know what it is. Right. This is gonna be a hot take here, right?
Oh god.
But in the ending where you give the data diver to Fiona, you drive home, and Fiona already has the data diver, right? Because you gave it to her in this ending.
Yes.
But then Mimic 2 is in your car and murders you. But then in
Yes.
Parachute, Mimic 2 comes out to your car, takes the data diver, and does not murder you. There is a clear conflict of motives.
okay, hold on.
Well, let me finish, please.
All right.
So I think that after you activate the Mimic, the MXES 2 TISM blueprints, that David, just like Fiona wants, gets stored in the cradle MXES to be protected, and Fiona is able to put herself into Mimic 2 because she needs to
Yeah.
mobilize herself to come out here and get the blueprints. So now David is in the cradle.
Then but
The
the
baby's
thing
in
is,
the cradle.
yes, we were looking at this yesterday on stream. When the Mimic 2 is walking away, it holds its arm up to its chest and puts the little data diver in its arm like it does Tiger Rock.
Yes,
So
my
what does that mean?
my initial impression was that the thing that gets you
It never does that
in
throughout the
that
rest of the
ending
game, though.
is not. I initially thought it was Fiona, but I now do not. Just to finish Tom's original super chat, he does say that when you do the Moon ending, you're putting David to peace with his parents, as opposed to if you did not do the moon ending, then Old Man Consequences, the alligator would have, like, eaten the baby owl. So that's like being taken to death, whereas putting him to peace with his parents is different. That's the full chat they have. The other super chat is, are you going to talk about Will Sigma and Cuck Edwin? And I'm sure we will talk about that later. Continue,
Okay.
Candy.
Yeah.
On the also the ending where you break into the car versus the ending where he just leaves you there, is in the car ending you're like driving and moving around and then that kills you, and then in the second ending though your car crashes and you're lying there completely motionless, potentially not dead, but your character doesn't move at all, and the mimic does, you know, steal the data diver and walk off. But that does kind of align with what we see a lot of other dead bodies around M2 and we never see them particularly brutalized. It's like it's content just to kill you and move on. So if it thinks that you're already dead, it's not necessarily out of character for it to not try and, you know, rip you to pieces, because it hasn't really ripped anyone else to pieces.
Why doesn't it hide us though?
Good question. I don't know about that. Maybe because there's no suits around.
It hides 100% of the other bodies.
Yeah, I will say it is weird that when the way I was experiencing it when I was playing it, it was like, you know, your car flips over, oh my god, the mimic's right there, it's gonna kill me, and then it reaches past you and grabs your data diver and then takes it away. So it's like a surprise that it doesn't kill you. You think it's just gonna punch your face, but it takes it and then walks away.
Where is my ball?
Yeah, I think it's like, I think the cradle has something to do with it, because I watched Doko did like an explained video today, and he said that the cradle is downloaded onto your data diver, and that's what you're taking. The mimic blueprints are on your data diver.
They
the
both
cradle,
are.
you
they both
run
are.
it.
Oh,
No,
I thought they were both. Okay, you
cradle.exe.
run the cradle. Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
that
think the
sucks.
mimics-
Maybe that sucks David into the little vacuum computer, and then Fiona says, "Transmuting myself into a mimic."
Yeah,
because think about it.
She says the cradle gives him boundaries to keep him safe.
Yes.
Unwithered, please.
And the cradle is
Sorry.
on the MXES machine, right? So the cradle
Yes.
is MXES?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I
do we...
kind of wondered if...
You go.
I kind of wondered, I was thinking about, you know, the teaser for Secret of the Mimic, where MXES is in the back of the car and gets driven away. I did kind of toy around with the idea of maybe you did download the cradle onto your data driver, and that was supposed... data diver, and that was supposed to be you driving away with MXES, like in the trailer, but I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm kind of mid.
Yeah, do we think that the physical MXES machine we see in Ruin and the physical Fiona machine we see are the same computer, or are they two different computers?
They're different. They look very different, don't they? Yeah.
Okay.
They look different, they talk different. MXES doesn't talk, Fiona talks. They don't act in the same way at all. They don't seem to have the same motivations or goals.
Yeah,
So John Paul basically brings up what you were just talking about, Candy, saying, like, if we physically move the MXES computer from Murray Costume Manor to somewhere else and it ends up under the Pizzaplex, if Fazburger is true, why would it need to be transported somewhere? If that's literal, why would it have to go from underneath the Costume Manor to underneath the Pizzaplex if that's where it already was? Unless in Help Wanted 2, what we see as MXES, kind of what you were just saying, is just a symbolic depiction of the data diver.
Which is perfectly fair, because everything else in that thing was symbolic. Like, there was nothing in there that was... I mean, a lot of it was very one-to-one symbolism, but there was nothing in there that actually happened in that.
In Help Wanted 2.
Yeah, in the DLC.
Yes, like we were talking about, like, do we think that Cassie's dad actually walked into a room and saw Murray's Costume Manor? Like, was Fiona showing him that in VR, or is that only for the player?
I think it's for the player.
Oh my fucking god, I was right.
Oh boy.
Let me read you a quote from Tiger Rock.
The book?
Yes. Do you remember how I sent you an image of the owl boss with
there's
two different colored eyes?
There's a heterochromia owl outside in Tiger Rock, yeah.
It's from Tiger Rock. The sun started to disappear behind the hills, but its glow still remained strong. Something light-colored was fluttering. Kai could see the movement through the bushes' tiny leaves. He squinted and leaned further out the window. It's probably just a cat or something, he thought. It wasn't a cat. It was an owl. A large white owl. The owl was sitting on the ground, angled just a bit from the side of Kai's house. Its eyes were closed. A streak of the sun's remaining light stretched through the bushes and landed on the owl. Kai could see clearly that the owl was not a normal owl. The light reflected off the owl's feathers. Owl feathers didn't react to light that way. Metal did. The owl was made of metal. FNAF world, that owl is David, and you can't stay here.
Wait, what does the owl do in this book?
Who knows? There's a giant passage about the sun's rays landing on a metal owl.
Kai goes into VR, and then the Tiger Rock hurts him, and he escapes. And then it turns out, and then he goes home, and he sees a cat with heterochromia, and he sees an owl with heterochromia, and then it turns out he was still in VR the whole time. And then he actually escapes. And then he goes home, and then the Tiger Rock kills him because he never actually escaped.
But why would that metal owl also be in FNAF world?
Why is Bub...
Unless it's David time.
Why is Bub in the basement as a Springlock suit also from FNAF world? FNAF world's important.
It's David time, that's why. It's David time.
I love FNAF world.
Manor time. Wait, there's more owl quotes. More owl quotes. I found another one. Kai swallowed hard and watched the owl. It wasn't moving. Was it just some kind of toy or something? Or maybe a new garden sculpture. The owl's eyes opened. Kai cried out and whipped his upper body back into his room. As he did, he bumped his head on the window frame. Blah, blah, blah. Gritting his teeth, Kai managed. When Kai's heart started to settle down, he inhaled and took a step back toward the window, leaving the window closed. The owl had disappeared. So whatever the owl is like some supernatural thing. I think that passage, though, GiBi, with the context we have now, with that specific passage, a streak of the sun's remaining rays stretched out and landed on the metal owl. Come on. The sun's rays landed on the owl. Come on, GiBi. Come on. You know.
Reaching.
Don't even say it. How am I reaching?
Because the scene takes place at night. Do we think that Scott told Andrea Wagner or whoever that was, like, okay, make sure you mention that the sun exists?
No, there's no way. You're so insane. There's no way that is not the intention.
I'm not
that
saying
the
it
sun
can.
lands on the
in
owl,
fairness,
and then it is.
the intention of this, like purely within its own context, the sun is brought up because it's to make them realize that it's made of metal because the sun reflects off it like it's metal.
Yes, so the metal
has its
owl,
own reason.
Metal owl not reaching, the sun reaching.
Okay,
Yes.
so owl being in FNAF world is not okay. Well,
No, that's super important.
So
Like,
that
that's
one.
obviously intentional. So Morse says, when we arrive at the mansion, the only car, I'm guessing he means like the roller coaster, is ours. When we escape in the fire ending, there are two. Someone went in after us. I think maybe the Mimic took a roller coaster to follow us, is the implication.
Say that again?
When you take the roller coaster from Costume Manor to Edwin's house, you're the only roller coaster car when you arrive. When you're escaping Edwin's house in the roller coaster, there's another car there, as if someone had followed you. I think the Mimic followed you.
Yeah, they say so. When you get up to the house, you can. I think you hear Fiona. No, actually, sorry. That's when you go to the bunker. But yeah, the Mimic is there, so it had to have followed you. Although it is in a house before you get into it. That could be a gameplay weirdness, but I'm not sure. I don't know if this is. Can you? Because when I saw Fiona, the robot, it has like a little security camera that's like it's like her eyes that she's looking at you with, and it made me immediately think of the Winter Soldier, the Captain America film, where there's the like Arnim Zola guy that's on a big computer and he's like digitized himself onto like a green screen and he uses a camera for an eye. Is there other references to like is that because that's the reference I thought of, but I'm not sure if that's like a reference to something else in pop culture, like the camera for an eye for a digitized person, because Steelwell likes to create pop culture references. So, you know, to like the whole MXES machine is a reference. So
It's a reference to the Doki Doki Literature Club episode of Gravity Falls with the virtual girl.
but you said so many words, and I know what all the words mean individually.
That's
but
what
I
I've
don't know
been
what they mean
saying.
together.
That's what I've been saying. Dual process. That's what we're talking about. Okay,
It
all
was
right,
a
listen,
joke.
listen,
It was okay.
give it. You can't even say I'm on that much Fent because we know that owl represents David Murray.
Whatever
because
you
of
just
Moon
said, I
Knight
missed. I've been gone for like 30 seconds. What happened?
Okay, I was saying you can't even say I'm on that much fentanyl because we know that the owl represents David Murray. So specifically having half a page dedicating to how the sun reflects off it. Don't even say I'm on crack. That's
Functionally, there had to be enough light that he could see it was made of metal, but it also had to be
but it's
nighttime
not.
because he was
It's
dead.
not a weird thing to note. It's like, oh look,
No,
the
no,
sun
no.
and the owl are paired
You
together.
are 100% correct for noticing it in a literary sense. I agree. I just think that might be fourth tier supporting evidence.
You just don't
as opposed
think
to
Scott.
convincing
You just don't
evidence.
think Scott said, "Hey, make sure there's a scene where there's the sun and an owl."
Yes.
Okay, but we'll never know. So
We'll never know.
we'll never know. Maybe that was in his 10 pages, and then the sun reflects off a metal owl, and she was like, "All right."
All right, what's everyone's helpy theory?
Yeah.
My name is David. Dad, I want some ice
Because
cream.
we see FNAF 6, where a bunch of Edwin stuff is mixed in with all the Fazbear stuff. And that's where we first see Helpy.
Yeah, it's also weird that Helpy is like arguing with
And
the
it's
mimic.
it's arguing with the Gregory, correct? The Grimmick shake.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't know what I now no longer understand. I guess we're probably gonna find it out in another game or in a DLC or whatever. But like, I don't know anymore what the relationship between all the different mimics are. Like, I don't know how Glitch Trap relates to Helpy, relates to the mimic in the basement, relates to Gregory or whatever, or Vanessa. I think Vanessa seems to be against Glitch Trap, even though she was for Glitch Trap. Now she's against him. But I don't know.
So Sauce says, lies, T-Dreads. We know you do the Fenty, you fiend.
I just do Benadryl and perks. I do Benadryl and perks when I'm off the wisdom teeth.
Arcadeus says, T-Dreads might have brain damage after the 20-hour Sheik of the Mimic stream. I agree. I think he's fried.
All I'm saying is, tomatoes is tomatoes, my friend. I see the tomatoes, I call them like the tomatoes is.
Oh my God.
I see two tomatoes in a garden. I see two tomatoes in another garden. I say, well, look at that. Tomatoes.
T-Dread's brain is
They
fried
must
tomatoes.
be the same tomatoes, even though they're in different gardens.
You good?
Yes.
You good?
Yes.
So, okay, GiBi, do you think that regarding Gregory, Crying Child, and David, there's with Security Breach on its just look at Security Breach on its own, there are huge connections drawn between Gregory and Crying Child, one of which relating specifically to this image is in the original version of this, he's eating an ice cream which has a little Fredbear head on it, and he's bitten the head off it. With those kind of connections, being dressed like I'm having the same kind of shirt, then we're having the connection drawn with like the same bandage on the knee being drawn on the Crying Child for one of the books. What do you think those mean now in context of this? Because I know you were saying you're much more convinced of the Gregory connection to David than you are the David connection to Crying Child. But my thing is, because I'm convinced of the Gregory-David connection, I'm also convinced of the David-Crying Child connection because we already have a pre-established one between Gregory and Crying Child. We don't know what the mechanics are of it yet, but I'm just curious what you think those connections might indicate.
I think that both are parallel echo poetries of David Murray. I just don't think at any point that Crying Child was brainwashed or is the mimic. I think it's more like fate and destiny as manipulated by Fiona Underground in standby mode through the field caused, again, echoes or parallels or rhyming of what happened with David.
Okay. But then you also agree that the God victim is David Murray.
No, God victim
under the logic, what you just said. You think
God
Fiona's
Fiona.
making the influence as
Yes,
David. Okay.
Fiona.
But
Fiona Fate. That's what the theory is called. Fiona Fate.
But you do think that Gregory is a literal brainwashing thing to do with Dave or David?
Gregory? I think that Fiona goes into standby mode when we leave her.
Why would she?
And so I think that she is probably in that standby mode for a long time, which is why she kind of exits the story.
That's why she waits like a century.
Yes. And so I think that in the Pizzaplex era, maybe it's something like Nervous's theory about, Monsters Inc. theory or whatever. I think that because she takes up so much energy, the whole plot secret of the Mimic is you're turning all the power on because you're actually turning Fiona on. I think that once the Pizzaplex is built, she's able to sort of like come back into full consciousness, and now she's in control of herself again, and now she can manipulate things like physically through computer programming as opposed to through the field. And so I think that's when she's like, I'm literally going to brainwash this child into being another David.
Right.
that's
the only
writing
explanation
side
I
of
could come up with for why she would
but-
wait like 80 years to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. My only thing is from the point of view of like from the writing standpoint, and again, this is just assuming that it's going to be well written, right? Like this is we're assuming a
This is
lot.
Scott Cawthon.
As in, like, we're assuming that the people writing it are logical people and they're not just completely making stuff up for no reason and, making random choices. From the storytelling perspective of, okay, so we've got this kid, Gregory, and he's going to be a brainwashed recreation of a prior version from the past. Like, of this kid who, the Mimic, they had a kid, then the Mimic became the Mimic and is now recreating this child as a kid in the future. I don't understand why you then, as a writer, go, but also what we're going to do is we're going to make the kid that the Mimic had, we're going to make that the kid, and we're going to make all of the imagery and all of the symbolism and everything relating back to the kid from FNAF 4, who's not the same kid, but they're all just like narrative parallels of one another, except for two of them are literally like related in terms of how they're connected, and one of them is just sort of tangentially related.
Yeah, a kid from 80 years later.
Nonsense.
Well, I think that
it's like out of universe, like metaphysic, like from a meta perspective, they're all based on the crying child. It didn't go the other way around. It's like every one of them is based on the crying child. So to have him be the one that's the least connected to the other two, to me, is a strange choice, especially when you put him in the bedroom of the FNAF 4, like
where it's literal same property.
I think it's sort of like a sandwich story because of the way it was written, written well out of order. I think that because the first arc of the story, the Afton arc, is ultimately about the crying child. I think that what we're now seeing is like, with God Victim, we never knew, why does Dave Afton have so much control over everything? I think this is saying that Fiona Fate is what made Dave Afton so important. He is a failed, vessel or recreation of David, which is why he's Golden Freddy and why he's a ghost and why he can teleport and why he can do all the other stuff. His story ends with UCN, and now, because for logistical reasons, Fiona didn't exist in the real world until this point, now she's
theory.
Now she's coming back to be like, well, I'm going to try again, and my again is going to be Gregory. So I think that Fiona
basically about the same thing. It's just more so the mechanics of it. Like you were saying that Crying Child is a failed recreation or is a recreation in some way of David. But you're just not convinced of the mechanics of it being intentional or driven by something more than like like field magic.
I think TD, like, you would have to say that Mike lifting him into Fredbear's mouth and it killing him was intentional, as opposed to REG Fate field stuff.
I don't know.
Would you?
I would see that.
I don't know
as
if you would have said that.
No. Because I think what I would say in that situation is he wasn't supposed to die because he was supposed to be the successful recreation.
But he died on his birthday.
She makes the deal with
he does die on his birthday.
I don't think Scott.
Then you can start.
Scott would not have had David Murray die on his birthday if we weren't supposed to see these as like intentional parallels.
Yes,
which makes me think
but
Dave.
Then what I'm saying is, but maybe what the idea is the field aspect of it is once someone's gone, you can't just force them to like come back. It's against nature to force a recreation of somebody. So maybe the idea is, yeah, he was a working recreation, but the field is what influenced him to die on his birthday. Like it wasn't part of the plan. It wasn't like I'm just going to repeat everything so that it happens again. It's like it's the universe is fighting against everything to kind of reset it in its right place. It's kind of the idea of like William getting his justice because of all the stuff that he's done, and being spring locked, and being tortured by the people that he hurt, and all this kind of stuff. Like you could talk about it in terms of there are seemingly within the FNAF universe forces beyond our character's comprehension, which are moving things in a direction of what is like quote unquote right or correct or just, and whether that's old man consequences or God or whatever you want to say.
Yeah, and also it would be weird if depending on what degree Fiona's involved, you could say that like the influencing or whatever, what happens to David Afton, could be played by her and not David or whatever. Because we see in it could be that being broken is a requirement for this thing to even like start. Like he's broken and they need to try putting it back together again. So maybe if David Afton never gets quote broken, then they cannot do the thing they need to do. Maybe him being broken is a necessary part of Daviding him or something. I'm not sure. I'm sure they're going to expand on it later. I'm sure we're going to have DLC.
Or and just because I did see your message and we'll read it in a second. It's from like 5 minutes ago. But are you saying that Fiona took advantage of the fact that this coincidence happened, or are you saying that she influenced it to happen so that it would make him easier to take over?
Say it again.
Is Dave dying, Dave, the son of one of the original 3 creators, dying on his birthday and being named Dave, a coincidence that Fiona took advantage of to make it easier for him to become another David? Or is it something that Fiona made happen to sort of prepare him to be a vessel?
I do not know yet. We will need.
I
need to think about it more.
If it's not the second one, then Scott is the worst writer on earth.
That can't be.
I think it's. I would say it's more like, to me anyway, because the parallels between Dave and David don't begin after he's dead.
It's more like a single line
after he's dead. But all the parallels between him are when he's alive. So he's already the new David. So we have to assume that whatever process is going on to make him into the new David begins at like either his birth or at least at some point before FNAF 4. So him dying on his birthday, that's what I'm saying. That could be the field. That could be what's being influenced. Like, they actually recreated him too well, because now he also died on his birthday. Like, they wanted to recreate him and not have that happen. Like, oh, we got our David back, yay. But they actually messed it up, and like, not literally, like, but as in from the perspective of the story, they've recreated him to the point of the thing they were trying to avoid in the first place ended up happening again. They're being punished for trying to muck with the natural order of things. Yeah. So that's how I would look at it. If it is, this is what the story is.
I'm sure you guys have heard like stories or movies or horror stories where it's like, the ancient god or the evil person wants to be reborn through a vessel, and so they need to find like the person who has the same birthmark, or they need to find like, oh, we've recreated them by finding someone with the correct colored hair, and his parents were in the cult, and so they made sure that he had the same name, so that on his 16th birthday we can stab him with the sacred knife and he becomes the ancient god reborn. Like, that is a trope and archetype throughout myths and horror stories, and so I think it's very possible that Fiona's intentions through the field are what created all the parallels to Dave Afton.
What I'm hearing is that actually none of these are the original Dave, and there was another Dave in the 50s that has to do with that wagon from The Secret of the Mimic Trail.
Oh my god.
Listen, we can do this all the rest of the franchise. Every new trilogy or trilogy or whatever we get is about another earlier version of David.
So just PKZ, going back to T-Dread's brain-fried tomato comment, says, all this talk about tomatoes makes me want to rewatch The Big O. Does that make me old, a weeb, or both? That is an anime that I'd never heard of until he said that. So,
The Big O.
Big O is the name for something else.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and then Sauce says, what do you think on Afton having David, like a sacrifice to Fiona to appease her? I also think maybe it's David Murray, like God Victim. So there is a line in Moon.exe that you have to, like, sacrifice, like, the baby owl or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so,
that would be the bite was planned, yeah.
Yes, like, William created Dave and made him sort of like, again, this vessel for David.
Which listen, GiBi, one of the observation rooms is Fredbear's, so that could have been part of the plan to get him bit.
Well, I actually think it might be the other. I disagree that to mean that he sacrifices his son is that he had the bite planned. I don't think that's the case. I think when the sacrifice element comes up, it means that he's sacrificing his son from being his son and sacrificing him to become David.
Another
Like
David.
if you're sacrificing it, like essentially, if you look at it as like, for example, if we think that Gregory has been brainwashed or was brainwashed to become another David, then we could say that Gregory was the sacrifice because he was giving up what he was or what he was supposed to be and becoming a recreation of somebody else. So it's this idea of like you were saying, GiBi, like the god being reborn. Give me your firstborn child, and I will be recreated, and I will take him as a vessel. It's the demonic or the evil spirit putting themselves into a vessel, which is new, and the sacrifice of that for some ungodly or unholy boon or whatever whatever William wants. If that's becoming Glitchtrap or creating Glitchtrap or whatever, it's, oh yeah, you can have my kid. I don't care. Yeah, here's my son. I'll let you put your son into him and make him your son. I don't care. I want to be immortal. You can have that narrative with it. I kind of like that idea. Kind of makes it an interesting start point for the series.
Have
like
you guys,
from William's point of view.
Have you guys seen the movie Bring Her Back that came out a couple weeks ago?
Nope.
No, I haven't.
Have you seen Hereditary?
Unfortunately, yes.
I also don't like that movie. I think Bring Her Back is more akin to this. Basically, someone's child dies and they go to the internet and they find this weird ritual that like you can bring them back, but you need a vessel that resembles them. Like she gets a girl around the same age and like whatever, and then it's like, oh, you have to do this whole demonic thing, and then the demon puts her soul in the new body or whatever. And then Hereditary is there's a demon, and they need a vessel for it. And so a member of the cult is like, oh, I will sacrifice my grandchild. But the demon is male, and her grandchild is a daughter, a granddaughter. And she's like, no, this won't work. It needs to be male. So now, like, you have to have, like, another child or something. So again, it's just, like, this trope exists in media. I think it might be, like, if the mimic is not literally David, it's just like a demonic, evil, robotic entity that wants to be in a human body. It might be doing these parallels on purpose. I don't know.
I'm just saying, GiBi, this does give us an answer as to why Fredbear's would be one of the observation rooms, because otherwise, that being there is so out of place. If it was literally part of the plan,
and
that's fucking
what's the
insane.
plush trap hallway? Also, I need to leave it about 7 minutes. I have a hard cutoff.
Yeah, dude. Plush trap hallway, I have no idea. We still no idea.
And Saw says, Unwithered, I'm saying not like an actual sacrifice. I mean Fiona or David Murray via ghost BS. Afton appeasing the supernatural names him David.
So Afton thinks he's talking to like Jesus or the devil. He's like, Fiona, I will do what you say if you give me.
Yeah, I like that less.
He's
I
praying.
Like that.
He's praying to Fiona.
Yeah, I mean that is a totally fine theory, but I think that to me would be less satisfying. I mean, again, it's not about what's satisfying; it's what's evidence based. But I think that would be less satisfying. The idea that Afton is just like, yes, I'll do whatever you say, Mimic. I'll make my son. I'll make him for you because you're a ghost and I'm scared of you. I like the idea more that he comes across the Mimic AI in the basement. He's like, yeah, I don't really give a shit what you want. Like, give me what I'll give you my son. That's like, he is so beneath, like he's so detached from reality and from human emotions. He's such a sociopath that he's like, oh yeah, I'll have a son and make him into your son or whatever. I don't care. I want what you have and you're going to help me. And it's more of an exchange rather than him devoting his life to working for the Mimic.
I will make you a glitch trap if you make me another David. Where is my mom?
What's everyone here's current understanding of the timeline insofar as when Dave was born and when David died?
He dies in 1975 because he dies on a Saturday, which is the 6th of December.
That's smart.
1975 is the only year. And Fiona dies in 73 because she dies 2 years earlier.
I do have a gamer observation to add.
Which could make Dave 7 when he dies. Okay,
listen,
continue.
Unwithered. To add on to what you were saying about the owl maybe being CC, the second you get the owl mask, you can no longer go back in the house and use the phone. So that crying child, it might be supposed to maybe be dead.
What?
I don't know. Just a thought. You can't go back in the house after you get the mask. It's
Yeah, you
weird.
can't-
They
you
block
can't
you
go back
off
in.
from that area.
Yeah, I did notice that earlier.
And it's only after you get the mask. Otherwise, you're allowed to go.
David would have been 5 when he died, so he would have been born in 1970.
David would have been 5. Jesus, timeline is not Tales games, I don't think. Dare I say? I have no idea when David Afton would have been born, though. Do you think it would be the same year that Dave Murray died?
Well, he could reasonably be 7 or younger in FNAF 4, so I think that's possible.
Or like he was born as a kid named like fucking Cassidy, but then he renamed him to David or some shit. I don't know, dude.
No, because he was
I have no
clue. 7. I think the cake in Dreadbear has 7 candles, right? That was Dream.
Yeah, 6, I think. I think it's 6.
Scott Cobble in chat says that you can't go to most places after you get the mask, not just the house.
You can't go to the mask or the pond, but I think that's it.
Okay.
I don't.
I think the thing I was trying to point it out was that. I think the thing I was trying to point out was that you are barred from using the phone to talk to the crying child after you get the mask.
The birthday cake in the barn, A Curse of Dreadbear, which has a ton of CC imagery, implies he was turning 7 in FNAF 4 in 1983 minus 7 is 1976 after David died, but before anyone made contact with Fiona. That's true.
Thank you, dual process theory.
Okay, so he was born after David died. Okay.
Yep, which makes any one of our theories way more likely. Yeah.
Yes, that works. He wants another. David, where is his ball?
Oh my gosh.
If we ever find a ball in the crying child's room in the DLC, I'm gonna go. What if in this? So there is files in Secret Mimic. There's a DLC folder already in Secret the Mimic. What if when we start the game and then we beat the game and then we go up to the house which is being rebuilt, then Afton opens the door and says, "My son is another David."
Oh my god.
And we go, "Oh my god, I knew it." That's what he's gonna say.
You are brain rotted. Something happened to you on that.
No, I can't wait till William Afton opens the door. We knock on the door. William Afton will open the door. He's gonna say, "This is my son. I'm putting a mimic chip in his head." Yeah, I knew it. Also, some people on Twitter were saying that the Trick or Treat house from Curse of Dreadbear is the in-between of Edwin's house burning and Afton rebuilding it on the same property. Don't know if that's true, but that would be cool. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Where you're looking through the windows in Curse of Dreadbear, and it's that weird big ass house. People on Twitter think it's the in-between of between it burning down in Secret the Mimic and Afton like fixing it.
I'm so happy that I'm not making timeline videos like you guys are, and I'm just gonna make big moon theory videos.
Because the wallpaper is apparently the same.
Listen, I'm just saying that the Midnight Motorist Mound is Edwin's mansion burned down. And I was right all along, and Oh
wait, did you guys know that the parking lot... Oh wait, I don't know if... I don't think you guys were on that call. I think Unwithered might have been. The parking lot is the Curse of Dreadbear lobby.
Oh.
When you get out of the... So we went in free cam. And if you go out of bounds to where you can't normally see, it's just the land around Curse of Dreadbear. There's the house on the hill, and then if you take a 90-degree turn, there's the same lake that there was in Curse of Dreadbear.
Well, yeah.
So you are standing... Yeah.
Fall Fest,
but I'm just saying.
Yeah, would take place down the mountain from the house, yeah.
Yeah, the house. So yeah, you are standing in the Curse of Dreadbear lobby. I just thought that's cool.
Wait,
Which means though, well, let me finish. Which means we know from the banner in Curse of Dreadbear that there's a Fall Fest in 1983, right? And in that, and so I'm assuming that's the one. So Fall Fest 1983, the factory is already completely destroyed.
Yeah, because
it is the same lobby. Yeah.
I don't know that the original Fall Fest could have taken place nearly that close, because why would Fiona have to go away for a week if she was just like down the hill?
Yeah, no, I think teachers are saying is they moved it in like after that.
Do one of you guys want to start streaming? Because I need to go. If you want to steal the audience and continue on one of your channels. No?
I'm streamed out.
Unwithered?
I think I'm gonna try and make a regular bedtime tonight because I've been going like up until
Oh my gosh, that's so right.
the AMs very much every night for the last like 3 nights.
All right, so everyone,
But, it's been fun though. I've had a good time.
Everyone in chat, thank you for
Bye,
being here.
Shut up.
You three, thank you for coming on. Obviously, I hope that we can continue to have this kind of conversation. I'm upset that I have to stop now, but maybe
Exactly.
maybe in a
Yeah,
couple days.
I'm upset you didn't talk me out of God, David.
Well, just because you don't believe in fate, Fiona, doesn't mean that.
God, David versus Fate, Fiona. What does
Yes.
theorizing come to?
Someone in the chat earlier said, like, they clicked on the stream and they're like, Fiona used the field to manipulate a rebirth of David, and they're like, what does FNAF lore become?
Actually, you know what? I can stream for a little bit. I don't mind streaming for just a
All right.
little tiny bit if people want to stick around.
All right, so everyone who's still here,
I'll
go
pop
over
it.
to Unwithered's channel, and the moment you get there, type 14 in the chat.
Yeah.
Or
Pile of
fake